Totally unprepared today. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I was so exhausted yesterday. I went live for way too long. I was just, I was, like, if you notice, there's a huge difference between when I start these feeds and when I'm done with them. And by the end of the feed yesterday, I was completely zapped. I actually went to bed at like 7 o'clock last night. So I'm feeling extremely well rested. But I don't know what I'm talking about today. I mean, I think we all know what I'm talking about today. We all know who I'm talking about today. It's the same people I talk about every day. The people I hate, because I hate you. I fucking hate you. And I hate all of you who don't take it as seriously as I take it. How many of you fucking people, still claim to be Christian, knowing that it's all pedophilia? Look at this shit this morning. So you can see there's that one line right there. And if you look up, I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but this is all spray. It's supposed to rain today for sure, but this is all spray. And this is nuts. Look at the halo. I can see your halo. I can see your halo. Halo. Oh, look, there's one up there. You can see it. They're just spraying the fuck out of us today. Oh, speaking of which. Ready? This is where the spot is. So usually they come right in the crux of the tree, but I'm telling you, we are getting mauled today. This is unfucking real. You think that's a passenger plane? I wish you guys could see it. So this will be day 2 of spray like I haven't seen in a long time. Why can I hear it? I always want to know that. So I can hear that plane. It's clearly right there, but the sound has finally come down to me. Think about this. If we don't have some sort of dome over the top of us, why can I hear it? Why doesn't the noise just dissipate and go out into space? Why would the noise come down? Almost as if it's bouncing off of something. Some dude wants me to slob on his nuts. Like, when you tell other dudes to blow you or play with your, like, you're gay. You realize that, right? Like, that makes you gay if you want other dudes, especially ugly, hairy dudes, to touch your penis even a little bit. Door's locked. Is he at school?
No, he said he starts Tuesday.
Cool.
He's going to Branch Line.
Yeah, I know.
Is Branch Line in between Farmington and Merriman, or Merriman and Riddle?
furthest one, I think. It's further.
I'm pretty sure I thought it was
Yeah.
Ferguson and Merriman.
Yeah, it is.
But somebody confused.
You'll see it. It's really easy.
What
It's
time do they get out of school?
who are you talking to?
Huh?
It was 3:25 last year, so I don't know if it's the same this year.
So Bella gets out at 3:30. Her drop off and pickup's a shit show. I have to go all the way to Ann Arbor Trail. Well,
We can grab him.
Easter and Middle Belt. And then Middle Belt's full of traffic.
We can get him. Well, actually, no, because Dwayne's
The first couple days, like,
Dwayne's picking him up.
until he's comfortable, I'm not.
Well, Dwayne's driving Nathan for us because we got to do Nick's school.
Right. I mean, I'm hoping I can schedule it.
You'll figure it out. They'll work with you. The older kid's the one that's the more important as far as scheduling goes. So if you got to get yours 20 minutes early, they're not going to care. It's branch line. Right, doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm assuming something happens like that often because, I mean...
Yeah, just pick them up 20 minutes early. Just pick them up before you get Bella. They won't have a problem with it.
There's no way. I mean...
They'd rather it be early than late, that's for sure.
Right, and I'm not rushing to, get...
No, you're not rushing. You guys are just regular white people. Yeah. Man, if I could be gay, I absolutely would be. That would be the ideal situation. No kids. Two incomes. Two male sex drives. Fuck yeah, I'd take it. Oh look, there's another one. Can you even see it? I don't know if the phone can pick it up. It's from your perspective, I don't know. It's on this side. I don't know if that's right or left from your screen, so I'm not really sure, but it's to this side of this thick one here. Do you see it? So all of these commuter flights, all of these flights that are going into Canada that don't appear on the flight tracker, these are all commuter flights. Just going into, it's 8 in the morning. Fuck yeah, why wouldn't they be flying a bunch of flights into Canada? Belch. Yeah, well, somebody that's a violent piece of shit would probably want to beat their partner. Gay people have kids. Not accidentally, you stupid ass. Like, this is seriously, you guys have to do better than this. See, there's that second one. It's showing up nice and pretty now. I guess this one, they shut it off. Or the plane just fell down. Did the plane fall down? Is that why there's no more streak there? Can't have anything to do with air moisture because this one right next to it is still going. So it can't have anything to do with the air moisture. You say, oh, air moisture changes. Well, that's not possible. So that plane would have just had to fall right down, right? What kind of name is that? It's a name that makes stupid people really upset, apparently. I'm a Nazi now. I'm not Jewish. Do your neighbors trip on you watching this conspiracy? Yep, they all come out and they're like, oh my God. Actually, my neighbors aren't stupid. Lots of them are old. And when I say, look, that plane doesn't have anything coming out of it. See that over there? When I say, hey, do you guys remember this? Because you've lived here for 50 years. Do you guys remember this your whole life? No, they don't remember anything of it. But keep trying. Well, if you want to know about my opinion on submarines, go watch the first 9 parts. Wait, what fell out of the sky? Just get on here. Well, the plane must have. Your last name's Katz. I want nothing to do with you. Your neighbors are the exception, right? I'm the only one, and then my neighbors too who think something's wrong with this. So these planes that you can clearly see are leaving nothing. They're heading south to Detroit Metro Airport, which is about 10, 15 miles directly south of me. You'll notice that the majority of these lines, like 95% of them, oh, look, this one's a plumer. This one has the little plumes. You'll notice the majority of these lines go west to east. Some of them go east to west. Very, very, very rarely do we get a north to south one. Strangely enough, Selfridge Air Force Base is exactly about 45, 50, 60 miles to the northeast of me. The exact direction that all of these lines go. Oh, look at that. That beautiful halo, totally normal, natural, nothing nor seen there. Yeah. I think you have degraded everyone you respond to. No, just the pieces of shit like you. Live near an airport. Not really. I mean, I live as near to an airport as most of us do. But they are probably dumping fuel to land. Oh, they're dumping fuel. Fuel that costs $7 something, or that costs, what does it cost? $3 per gallon? That liquid fuel that's all in the wings of the plane, right? They're just dumping fuel over civilian populations. Yeah, because that makes sense. Yep, near the airport, good 10 miles away. But see, again, this is like, so the argument is, you think this is normal, natural. There's really no need to argue with you. You're an idiot. Anybody that sees big lines in the sky and thinks it's normal, natural, these are probably the same people that are, you know, the pedo-Trump supporters, the Israel supporters, you know. These are the same dumb people who get mad at no matter what it is I talk about. They're mad. But the whole chemtrail thing is so well documented. You'd have to be just an uneducated, ignorant, insecure moron to believe it. Racist. Jews aren't a race. No. You can't convert to a race. Mailing. So Mailing, if I just start going, okay, I'm Chinese now. You have to call me Chinese. That horrible, horrible stereotype. But I say, look, I've converted. I want you to call me Chinese now because I'm squinting my eyes and talking in a horribly stereotypical voice. Does that mean I'm Chinese now? Is that how that works? You know, this will be like a reasonable, intelligent argument that I know you're not capable of handling. But it's interesting, you know. I'm going to report you because I can't argue with you. Dumb females, man. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what this is. Half of me thinks it's just a distraction. It's weather modification exists. What do you guys think geoengineering is? Here, let's prove the point to all the stupid people out there. Because it's a really easy thing to do, right? It's so funny to think that people are this stupid. But it's really easy to prove. You ready? We'll just prove it to you. So we'll put in chemtrails into the Google machine. You see that? Chemtrails into the Google machine. First thing that pops up is the Wikipedia, chemtrail conspiracy theory. Ooh, dun dun dun. It's literally a conspiracy theory. That is totally normal, natural. It's natural and normal that it would make a shadow in the sky. Why wouldn't there be shadows in the sky going into the halo like that? I mean, seriously, that's totally normal, natural, right? Totally normal, natural. Oh, it's the air temperature now. Yep, yep. Although the air temperature doesn't happen every day, you know, the there are plenty of days where there's literally nothing. And guess what else there isn't? The hundreds and hundreds of planes it takes to make these. So on the same day where there's no trails because of the temperature, there also happens to be no one flying all of these commuter flights into Canada. Totally makes sense. I don't know what I'm thinking. The chemtrail conspiracy theory is the erroneous belief that long-lasting condensation trails left in the sky by high-flying aircraft are actually chemtrails consisting of chemicals or biological agents sprayed for nefarious purposes undisclosed to the general public. Oh, look, there's another one. Nothing coming out of that plane. Well, look at how the shadow's getting longer. Okay, you have this, and then you have this. This, and then this. Like the fact that anybody could see this and think that totally looks normal, that totally makes sense. So that was the first sentence, right? And let me remind you that you go to the air show, and when you go to the air show, the only time you see streaks and shit is when they want you to. Skywriting, right? They have to put something into this. Planes just don't do that. If planes did that naturally, normally, then skywriting wouldn't be a thing. Yeah, that's just what planes do. Belch. But let's keep going. That was first sentence. Second sentence. And gee, I wonder why I cough. It must be the fuel that's being dumped on me. It couldn't be the smoke. Because smoke, it doesn't make you cough at all. Sentence number two. Believers in this conspiracy theory say that while normal contrails dissipate relatively quickly, because they do, you've seen them happen, you've seen it plenty of times. I mean, again, the first one of these lines, you can barely see it anymore. It's just below the shadow. Only went to right there. The other one kept going. So they were flying at roughly the same height. So why would it just shut off if it just has to do with air temperature? You know, these are the stupidest arguments, but let's address it. One of the trails goes all the way, one of them stops suddenly. Like they shut the thing off, or like it ran out of juice or whatever it was. Please tell me how that has to do with air temperature instead of, again, shutting it off or running out of juice. Please. By the way, if you're watching and you think this stuff is ridiculous, go ahead and smash it. Smash the dislike button. However, if this stuff is even, if that's kind of creepy to you or whatever, or you think something's not right there, hit the like button. Share this video. Click the share button. Click Facebook. You could even share it with, this guy's crazy. Somebody come tell him how he's crazy, if that's what you need to do. And don't forget to sub. That was the second sentence. They dissipate relatively quickly. Contrails that linger must contain additional substances. That's the second sentence. The third sentence on this crazy conspiracy theory chemtrail page says that those who subscribe to this theory speculate that the purposes of the chemical release may be solar radiation management. These are all blue, so this means we can click on these things. Solar radiation management, weather modification, psychological manipulation, human population control, biological or chemical warfare, or testing of biological or chemical agents upon a population, and that the trails are causing respiratory illnesses and other health problems. Well, we know that the government did the Tuskegee shit. We know that there's multiple times where they've tested things on an unknowing population. Oh, what the fuck is the one thing called? Oh, let me ask my wife real quick. She knows. Thymidylide, that's what it was. Thymidylide. Thymidylide. All right. So let's pull this back up. So the first one that you can click on down below is called solar radiation management. Let's see what solar radiation management says. Solar radiation management is a group of large-scale approaches to reduce global warming by increasing the amount of sunlight that is reflected away from the Earth and back into space. The most researched solar radiation method is stratospheric aerosol injection, in which small reflective particles would be introduced into the upper atmosphere to reflect sunlight. Other approaches include marine cloud brightening, which would increase the reflectivity of clouds over the oceans, or constructing a space sunshade or a space mirror to reduce the amount of sunlight. The last two are just so fucking stupid. But here, let's check out what. Okay, this one's blue, so we'll click on it. Stratospheric aerosol injection. Stratospheric aerosol injection is a proposed method of solar geoengineering to reduce global warming. This would introduce aerosols into the stratosphere to create a cooling effect via global warming and increase albedo, which occurs naturally from volcanic winter. It appears that stratospheric aerosol injection, blah, 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 could lower the temperature by a whole 1.5 degrees Celsius because the globe is warmer by 1.5 degrees Celsius. Various forms of sulfur have been shown to cool the planet. Let's see. An aerosol is a suspension of fine solid particles or liquid droplets in air or other gas. Aerosols can be generated from natural or human causes. Examples of natural aerosol, don't care about natural aerosol. Examples of human-created aerosols include particulate air pollutants, mist from the discharge of hydroelectric dams, irrigation mist, perfume from atomizers, smoke dust, sprayed pesticides, and medical treatments for respiratory illness. The history of it, since we don't usually do this. Oh wait, no, that's a different history. Let's see. Implementation, technical considerations. Where does it say? Delivery. Okay, delivery. Various techniques have been proposed for delivering the aerosols or precursor gases. Number one, civilian aircraft, including Boeing 747 and Gulfstreams, could be modified at a relatively low cost to deliver sufficient amounts of required material, according to one study. Military aircraft such as the F-15C variant of the F-15 Eagle have the necessary flight ceiling but limited payload. Military tanker aircraft such as the KC-135 Stratotank C-110 extender also have the necessary ceiling at latitudes closer to the poles and have a greater payload capacity. So the fact that it's even being mentioned should say something. It means they have to talk about it. Now they give you, wow, well that just changed. They give you a whole bunch of other bullshit to sort of distract you and tell, well, you know, this this can do it, but it doesn't have the payload or whatever. Yeah, but they couldn't modify that? Let's see. Where does it say the stratospheric aerosol injection? I want to see the part where it says it's the most widely used version. Well, let's do this. We'll go back and we'll look up marine cloud brightening. Marine cloud brightening, also known as cloud seeding or marine cloud engineering, may be a way to make stratocumulus clouds over the sea brighter. Over the sea. They can't do it over the land, just over the sea. So my feed is jumping from 100 people watching to 200 people watching. You know, because that's how things work. It may be able to keep, maybe a way to make strategy over the bright, thus reflecting more sunlight back into space in order to limit global warming. Again, this is just something they have you like completely duped on. The Earth is a whole 1.5 to 2 degrees warmer than it used to be because we've been keeping track of the temperature of the planet for the last 1,000 years, right? What I think is crazy, and nobody really talks about it, when you look at all of, like, literally any old photograph you can find from, you know, the earliest photographs, or even the paintings of the, you know, late 18s, early 19s, every single photo you can find, the people look like it's cold. They're dressed like it's cold outside. And people will say, that has to do with modesty, and that has to do with, no, listen, if it's 95 degrees out, and you're in the, you know, on the East Coast, in the upper East Coast, it's humid, it's a hot, like most people have no fucking idea. To be wearing a full wool suit, an undershirt, a tie, a top hat, a fucking, you know, who knows all the different layers you have. And plus the women, look at the women. The women have their corsets on and their huge dresses and their umbrellas, their lace umbrellas, their parasols. You look at every single photo, even the photos or the pictures where people are supposedly at the beach. And they'll say, oh, it's modesty as to why these people, you know, women would wear dresses to go swimming in. You know how fucking dangerous that is? Especially with riptides and undertows and shit. To be wearing a big wet fucking curtain. That's just death. That's asking for death. And women weren't allowed. Yes, they were. Who's gonna, you're gonna get a ticket for what? Not wearing I mean, we're talking about people who don't have showers. We're talking about people who don't have dry cleaners and shit. To maintain the style of dress we see in literally every picture, it doesn't matter whether it's one of these staged photos or it's like supposedly a street scene. They're all fucking, they all look like it's cold. And even the ones you do see, they don't even look sweaty. Like, you don't see sweat stains in the clothes. Their hair isn't all wet. They're not dripping sweat. They're just fine. Are you just comfortable with saying every photograph taken must have been in like May? No, even March. It's really crazy, right? All right. One of such two methods that might be sustained climate impact, but is lower in the atmosphere than stratospheric aerosol injection. This is lower than. All right. Wait, what? Oh, I got to look up cloud seeding. My bad. Cloud seeding. So, if you look here, marine cloud brightening, the first thing it says is cloud seeding. Okay, so cloud seeding, we click on cloud seeding. Cloud seeding is a type of weather modification that aims to change the amount of or type of precipitation, mitigate hail. By the way, fuck everything Israel. For all of you on here who are just, what's he talking about? Fuck everything Israel. It's time for the Goyim to unite and overthrow the leadership that keeps us all slaves and is committing genocide and is behind all the pedophilia and. We'll come back to it, don't worry. Funny that I'm crazy and all, but look at the pictures on the cloud seeding page. What does that look like? It almost looks like clouds are dropping stuff into the sky, or planes are dropping stuff into the sky, into the clouds. Isn't that kind of what it looks like? Gosh, that's really weird. It's really weird. For me to have made up this conspiracy theory, then come to Wikipedia, created this fake page, and put all these like I'm pretty dedicated to fooling you guys, aren't I? What the fuck? I must be like good at this. So let's see. Cloud seeding is undertaken by dispersing substances into the air that serve as cloud condensation or ice nuclei. This is the best part though. Let's look at the history of it. Want to see? So this first plane is the Beech 18 that used dry ice for cloud seeding in early post-war U.S. So in the 40s. In the 40s they were doing this, huh? The next two are the Lockheed 18 cloud seeding from Wagga Airport in 1958 in Australia, and the T-28A Trojan Rainmaker, 1960. Man, I am so good at this whole fake conspiracy theory stuff, right? I am thorough. These next three are the Curtiss P-40 Rainmaker, 1964, the Curtiss P-N-40 Weather Modification Company, and the Harvard Hail Defense, 1964 in Canada. Isn't that interesting? Do you guys ever remember hearing a news report that a storm system was coming? By the way, if you like the video, if you hate Israel, if you're watching a video and you hate Israel, you like this stuff, you're concerned about everything, hit the like button, share, subscribe, do all those things, help out. If you're opposed to genocide, help out. Like, share, sub. If I'm wrong about all this stuff, make sure you smash it. Smash the dislike. But how many of you have heard about hail defense from planes? The news says there's a hailstorm coming, there's a weather system coming that could bring hail. So the system, I don't know, Harvard, is going to fly its hail defense planes up there, and they're going to cloud seed the hail away. Have you ever heard of that before? Why do we even have hailstorms if that's a possibility? For the same question as why do we have forest fires that burn up a bunch of people's shit if we have cloud seeding and HARP? HARP is how they move the jet stream around. They just cloud seed the fuck out of shit and make it rain, put out the fire. Why don't they do that? Why do we still have hurricanes that destroy, millionaires' homes and shit like that in Florida and all that, when they can destroy hurricanes, when they can control hurricanes? You guys know that a hurricane was set to hit New York on 9/11? It was barreling right towards New York on 9/11, and somehow, according to all the weather pictures, it looked like it was trying, but there was some sort of wall in the way. Now, excuse my primitive language on this, but it's not like it's something that's commonly talked about. And I'm trying to put it into relatable terms to people. But there was a hurricane that was set to hit the New York. They wouldn't have been able to do 9/11 if that hurricane would have come through. And yet somehow it didn't. And it was a clear blue day instead. But again, have you ever heard of the hail defense where they cloud seed the fuck out of shit? Here we have the Cessna 210 2006 in Austria, the Cessna Skymaster 2015 in Israel, and even an Alpha Jet 2014 in Monaco. Now you can see the top picture is a dispersal method. But these are all planes that are used. So the funny thing is I guess 2014 was the pinnacle of that technology, right? Here we are in 2025 and they haven't figured out a way. Oh, these are fake pictures. These are fake pictures. So Wikipedia is posting fake pictures. Oh, no, wait. I created this Wikipedia page. Yep, that's what it must be. That's what it must be. I created the Wikipedia page, put the fake pictures up, and now... And I didn't bother to put more fake pictures between 2014 and now, showing off the advancement of in technology until today. I didn't even bother with that. In 1891, this is such a weird story, right? In 1891, Louis Gathman suggested shooting liquid carbon dioxide into rain clouds to cause them to rain. In 1891! Do you guys know that? Let me read to you what liquid carbon dioxide is, ready? Liquid carbon dioxide is the liquid state of carbon dioxide which cannot occur under atmospheric pressure. Wait, what? It can only exist at a pressure above blah, 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 blah. And under the temperature of 88 degrees Fahrenheit and minus 69 degrees Fahrenheit, low temperature carbon dioxide is commercially used in its solid form, commonly known as dry ice. Well, wait, what's dry ice? Dry ice? This should show you that you're being lied to on every level. If you don't understand after reading this that you're being lied to, you're just a thick-headed piece of shit, I guess. I don't know. So listen to this. It is generally accepted that dry ice was first observed in 1835 by French inventor Adrien Jean-Pierre Thiorlet, I don't know, 1790 to 1844, who published the first account of the substance. In his experiments, he noted that when opening the lid of a large cylinder containing liquid carbon dioxide, in 1835, they had liquid carbon dioxide. How? How? What coolant did they have, along with the pressure system that they had, to create such a thing? Liquid carbon dioxide is not, it's not in, it can't exist in our atmosphere. It immediately goes, like carbon dioxide, dry ice goes, it's called subliming. Dry ice sublimes directly from solid state to gas state. There is no liquid state. That's why it's dry ice. So let's keep going, because you're going to see how this is a cylindrical argument here. This is a chicken and the egg situation. And this is your history. This is official shit. This is what you have to believe. This is something that, there's a good possibility you could or do experience something that has to do with dry ice in a regular, in your regular life. Whether it's a fog machine somewhere or, something like that. Dry ice is pretty common. This left only solid dry ice in the container. A whole 100 years later, in 1924, Thomas B. Slate applied for a U.S. patent to sell dry ice commercially. Subsequently, he became the first to make dry ice to make dry ice successful as an industry. In 1925, this solid form of CO2 was trademarked by the Dry Ice Corporation as dry ice, leading to its common name. Really? Well, let's look a little bit more then, shall we? Dry ice is easily manufactured, it says. Okay. Do me a favor. Again, if this makes sense to you, then smash the shit out of the dislike. Smash it, smash it, smash it. I'm stupid, whatever. If this doesn't make sense to you, then hit the like button. Share this, sub. Don't forget to sub. The most common industrial method of manufacturing and natural gas, oil refinery activities, or large-scale fermentation. Okay, so 1835, somebody is collecting gas in their gas collecting bag. They put the bag over the fermentation, and they collect it all in the bag, and then they transport the bag, because again, okay, so collecting the gas. Okay, now, who came up with this process and how this process, you know, the ins and outs of this process came to be? They're not going to tell you that. Like, when you think about what this is, that somebody was like, you know, if I just hold a bag over the fermentation process, I can collect the gas and turn it into a liquid for reasons. And then from that liquid, I can create dry ice. There we go. That's just how this works, right? They're just gonna yada yada over a lot of this shit. Second, the carbon dioxide rich gas is pressurized and refrigerated until it liquefies. So, again, I ask you, in 1835, what refrigeration devices did we have? When you think about 1835 in your head, horses and wagons, who are, you know, obviously Donkey Inc. is making the most amazing buildings to ever exist, at least as far as we can tell. They're a few years away from the Thames Tunnel that they were somehow able to build underneath the Thames River. Very fascinating story, but don't you worry about that one. 1835. What is the communications network? What is the, you know, like every time you hear these stories about how, like, some person in France or some person in the United States was working off of was using the work of somebody in France or, you know, somewhere else. Just think about that. How were they? How? What internet did they have? When you say something stupid like the library, who the fuck filled the libraries? How were they filling libraries back then? You know, from 1880 up until digital, something called the linotype machine was just invented. A German clockmaker just invented the linotype machine, which was literally like its own little foundry. It's fucking nuts to think about what this whole thing is said to have, how this whole thing is said to have worked. Look into it. You won't find too much information about the nuts and bolts, the how and why. They'll give you a bunch of nonsense details, but how the shit came to be, good luck. So again, how do you pressurize and refrigerate carbon dioxide in 1835? Now look. I'm just looking at all these comments real quick. Blah, blah, blah. 1800s were advanced. Yeah, right. Look. Not a single person is addressing what's being said here. Talking shit. I mean, it's crazy. I'm wrong, right? If I'm wrong, why isn't anybody coming in here? You know, normally they're crying because I'm talking bad about Israel. I'm exposing the J control scheme that keeps us all slaves and is consistently sexually abusing children. And It's just really awful. Really awful. I'm exposing Team Jorge. Look up Team Jorge when you get an opportunity. Act.il. Don't worry, we'll talk about it. But I'm showing you guys the truth. You guys want to see some truth real quick? We'll come back to this. Let's look up some truth real quick. So this is Naftali Bennett, who in 2010 was a high-ranking Israeli agent and future Israeli prime minister. As of 2025, he's a former Israeli prime minister because 2019, they had to sort of pull the Netanyahu curtain down a little bit because he was under indictment and, you know, like he was in trouble. It was the exposure was coming. So between 2019 and 2022, Israel had 6 prime ministers. Netanyahu, then Defense Minister Benny Gantz won. They kept having these elections. It's just so, it's such a goofy, silly narrative that you'd have to be foolish to fall for. But Benny Gantz won, but then it was negated and Netanyahu was put back in charge. And then this guy, Naftali Bennett, won. And the thing is, the only difference between Naftali Bennett and Netanyahu was that Netanyahu said all Israelis had to serve in the military at 18 years old. And unbeknownst to the regular people, Netanyahu had a plan that has just come into fruition. We just didn't realize it. It was a slow roll. They liked the slow roll. That way we're just not paying attention. Because Naftali Bennett believed that at 18 they should all go into yeshiva and that we're here to do all their dirty work. They shouldn't have to join the military and all that shit. That's what the Goyim are for. The Goyim are for the meat sacks are for dying. The meat sacks are for the ones that are to be killed and fight the fight. And he won under that because they were like, yeah, we don't want to fight anyway. So that is what the Goyim are for. So he ends up winning the prime ministership. They have a president and a prime minister, by the way. He wins prime minister from June of 2021 to June of 2022, where he, for no real given reason, quote, steps down, but it's not really like he steps down. He just sort of stepped back. He was still de facto prime minister, but Yair Lapid, who is another Israeli agent, talking head, famous, you know, he was in the Where in the World is Osama bin Laden movie by Morgan Spurlock, where he went to the Middle East and the only time he was even threatened a little bit was when he was in Israel. Remember that funny little movie? But Yair Lapid steps in from June until November, where we, the Goyim, were all distracted because Kanye West said some stuff he's not allowed to say. Doesn't matter whether it's true or not. He just said something. They were preparing us. Morning. They were preparing us. They were giving us the example. Kanye is the example to me. Kyrie is the example to you. Kanye came out and said, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jays, which is stupid. And actually, when you look into things like Carbine, DEFCON is one of their things. I always thought of it like definitely a con, number 3. You know, you had the George Bush. See, people forget that Kanye West, on live television, during an extremely tumultuous time in the United States where black people had been made refugees in their own country by a hurricane, Hurricane Katrina, and the president wasn't doing anything about it, Kanye West on live TV said George Bush does not care about black people and didn't get canceled over it. He doesn't get canceled over that. He then, you know, he says, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jays, and that's, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing he could ever say. So the example is Kanye gives a threat, a vague threat, but a threat nonetheless. It doesn't matter if it's a real threat or if you are not allowed to make threats against the masters. This is the example Kanye is providing. He also says, I am Semitic. I can say anything I want. Because I got a lot of you don't understand this. So here, let's do this real quick, just so there's no cry of shenanigans. Semitism, definition. I want you to read it this time. We'll pull up the Merriam-Webster definition. Merriam-Webster.com. Semitism.
Semitism.
See? Semitism. A Semitic character, or number 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to, see that? Policy or predisposition. This is supremacy. That's what it means. Look. Predisposition, listen to this. Predisposition. A predisposition is a natural tendency or increased likelihood of developing a specific trait, condition, or disease, often influenced by a combination of genetic and environmental factors or by prior experience. Policy, the rules and regulations. Predisposition, how you look at things, how you go into it, how you've been brainwashed to think, is favorable to one group of people. Why would that exist? Why should we favor any one group of people? Aren't we all here together and equally? Isn't that how this works? Aren't we all brothers and sisters in this world just trying to make it? Isn't that how this works? So, back to Naftali Bennett, who, so Kanye says, I am Semitic. Because, in the conflict that's going on right now, the only Semitic people are the Palestinians. New study just came out saying 95% of Israelis don't have Semitic blood. They're from Ukraine, they're from Europe, they're from the United States, they're from Russia. Lots are from Ukraine. That's why do you think Ukraine has been connected to Israel? Have you ever heard of any other country demanding Israel's help in any sort of conflict they were in? Has Israel ever been known to help anybody during a conflict? No. So why would Ukraine suddenly be like, oh yeah, we need help from Israel? You guys know why Israel doesn't help? Israel doesn't help directly against the Russians because the Russians control the Syrian airspace. And the Israelis want to be able to bomb the Iranian proxies in Syria, and the only way they can do that is if they don't pick shit with Russia. So instead of helping Ukraine overtly, in Syria. Interesting how that works, isn't it? Isn't it interesting? So Kanye says, I can say things because I am Semitic. And that's, the Semitic people, it's a region. If somebody calls you anti-Semitic, you should be upset. That's a racist term. You should not allow people to call you anti-Semitic. You should immediately respond with something along the lines of, no, I totally support the Palestinians. The Lebanese, the Syrians, the Yemeni, the Iranians, the Iraqis, even the Egyptians, the northern part of Africa is all considered Semitic. Those are Semitic people. So yes, black people, brown people, white people, to less extent, but these are all Semitic people. If they're from that region, then they're Semitic. The third thing Kanye said was, everyone in the entertainment industry has Jays behind them, has Jays in their contract making money off of them. Which is a conspiracy theory we all already know. And if you don't, I would suggest you watch Hollywoodism. The link to Hollywoodism will be in the description of the video, but you can always find it on YouTube, Hollywoodism. It's a movie made in 1996 or 7 where they brag. It's them. It's not an Alex Jones movie. It's not a Guy Williams presentation. It's them. It's the descendants of the original 6 Hollywood mogul producers that somehow created Hollywood, ran it with an iron fist and nepotism, and I don't know, you think they gave it up, I guess. I don't know. They didn't. But one of the daughters in the, or one of the descendants says that essentially you could say that the American dream is the J dream. Because the movie is all about how they used Hollywood to create not just the America they wanted to live in, but the world they wanted to live in. And again, don't take my word for it. Go watch the fucking movie. And so, you know, there's something else going on when instead of saying something intelligent, like, yeah, Kanye's right. There are a lot of us behind the scenes because it takes a lot. Somebody doesn't just make a song and it gets on the radio and you can buy the CD or whatever. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of legal stuff that has to happen. There's a lot of production stuff that has to happen. There's a lot of hands that need to be shook, and a lot of palms that need to be greased in order to make things happen behind the scenes. Movies cost a lot of money. CDs cost a lot of money to produce. Albums cost a lot of money to produce. Studio times and all this stuff. And yeah, we've done our very best to ensure that everyone from all cultures, all colors, all walks of life is able to share their art with the rest of the world. And yeah, we do. We work really hard behind the scenes, and there's a good likelihood that there's probably one of us behind everybody, whether it's in contracts or in lawyers or just in the business itself, because we're in the business. Is there an issue with that? Like, that's all they would have to say to make it blow over. But instead what they say is, you can't say that. Don't you say that. You're not allowed to say those things. And if you look at any talking head today, anybody that's ever, any interview with a settler or with any Israeli government member, anything like that, you look at any of them talk about what's going on, talk about the genocide that they say isn't even happening, and see what kind of intelligent arguments they make. I guarantee you won't find any. Golda Meir, you won't find any. She'll never say anything intelligent. It'll just be like, crybaby. Well, this is ours. This is ours, and you're not supposed to talk about it. You're the dumb goyim. Don't talk about it. Literally, that's all you'll ever hear. First, they say that it's biblical. Well, it's biblical. It's biblical. And if you go, well, not really, and besides, I don't believe in that, they immediately switch to, oh, well, that's anti-Semitism. You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that. That's anti-Semitism. And that's literally the only 2 arguments they have. And if you proudly stand up and go, fuck yeah, I am absolutely opposed to supremacy in any form. I don't think any one group of people should control the rest. I don't think anybody should be born superior. I think your actions and who you are should dictate your position, not what you are. If you say something like that, watch their heads explode. I'm proud of it. I'm proud to oppose the cult, the ritual fucking sexual abuse, pedophilic, slave master cult. I hate it. I'm proud to hate it. You can't tell me why I shouldn't hate it. But you have Kanye West providing you this example, providing me the example. Kanye West loses $2 billion in one day. All he did was say something. Say some shit he's not allowed to say. Then you had Kyrie, who is the example to you guys, because I ask you guys, share the video. Click share, click Facebook. Share it. You don't even have to say anything, but if you want to, say this guy's crazy, come tell him how he's crazy. Something to protect yourself. But Kyrie Irving, who was one of the best basketball players at the time, shared a video, shared a link. He didn't say anything on the link. He just shared a link. And the link was to a movie that I would have never known about it. You know, just like I would have never known about Kanye. Just like none of you would have known about Kanye because none of you follow Kanye West. The only reason you knew about this stuff is because the J-controlled news told you to care. Told you what Kanye said. And some of the stuff he had said way before. It wasn't like he said it all in one day. It just suddenly got brought up. And so Kyrie shares this link to a movie called From Hebrew to Negro, How the Black People Are the Original Jews. Again, something I would have never even known existed had the news not made a big deal of it. And I was like, hey, I searched what was the thing that Kyrie shared. And I mean, it's just, they obviously, they wanted you to, can you, if the news hadn't made a big deal out of it, if Kyrie didn't get suspended, that thing would have had 1/10 of the views it ended up getting. If that. It was the best, the very best promotion system that they could have gotten was the news getting mad about it. And what does it do? It just reinforces the biblical bullshit. That's all. Whether it changes character types or whatever, it's still trying to force this idea that the Bible is fucking true. That there's even a hint of truth to it. It's all just dumb. But this reinforces that argument. So Kyrie gets in trouble for that. So Kyrie is the example to you. Kanye is the example to me. And guess who tells us, just in case you missed the message, Dave Chappelle just happened to be the host of Saturday Night Live that following week. Huh. These people that are booked months in advance, Dave Chappelle just happens to be the host. And what does he do? He comes out. First thing he does is reads this note that says, you know, basically, I'm loyal to the J people. This is all just comedy. Please don't take my money. And then he proceeds to, you know, the first thing he says, joke-wise, is, I've been in Hollywood a long time, and I know that there are 2 words that you do not say, and anything good ever follows it. And that is the and J's. And the audience is just laughing, playing along, blah, 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 blah. At one point, Dave says, I do have to say, though, there's one thing you can't do. The Jays can't blame black people for what happened to them. Black people had nothing to do with that. And the crowd just goes dead silent. And Dave kind of looks around, and somebody goes, yeah. And Dave goes, he gets it. And then they start laughing again. And Dave talks about Kanye. Dave talks about Kyrie. And then he even mentions how Trump's going to win again. And then he goes back to Kanye, and he just, you know, Kanye, you know, he even says, like, I can see how somebody could come to Hollywood. And he said, you know, the one thing you can say is, there's a lot of them. A lot of them. A lot of J's. A lot of them. That's what he says. There's a lot of J's. A lot of them. And he says, I could see how somebody would put all that together and think there's some sort of conspiracy, this, that, and the other. But you don't say it out loud. Like, you can think it, but just shut the fuck up. Dave did his job. Dave told you what you're supposed to say, what you're supposed to think. That was in November. That was less than a year before the false flag where no Israelis died and no Israelis were taken hostage on October 7th. That was the jump-off point to the genocide that is happening right now. That your buddy Trump is attacking the First Amendment of the Constitution in order to protect. The 5 elements: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom to assemble, and the right to redress our grievances with our government. That's what the First Amendment stands for. And go figure, it's all being destroyed over Israel, over the Jays. So I want you guys to see, like I said, Naftali Bennett stepped down. Yair Lapid took over until November, when the Kanye switch happened. So while we were all distracted by Kanye, they were putting Netanyahu's coalition, Bezalel Smotrich, Itmar Ben-Gvir, Avi Moaz, a bunch of other people who are these are war criminals, some of which have actually served time for inciting violence against Arabs and shit like that. Itmar Ben-Gvir had to do with the prime minister being assassinated. The Israeli prime minister who was the first Israeli prime minister to shake hands with the Ayatollah and work on and talk of peace. Shortly after doing that, he was killed. And a week before doing that, Itmar Ben-Gvir is on TV with the hood ornament from his Cadillac, showing it off, saying, look, if we could get his car, we could get to him. Like, this is all just very well documented. You can... The one thing you'll be able to say about me is I'm not making up a goddamn thing. Every single thing I talk about is documented, guaranteed proof. And so while they put this coalition into office in a way that can't be removed, somehow, some sort of whatever they did, putting Netanyahu back in charge, there will be no more elections. Netanyahu will lose power when he either dies or steps down. He can't be removed. And while this is happening, again, you're distracted by Kanye West. And I'm sure it's all just a coincidence because, Kanye has been saying all kinds of shit since then. There are all sorts of videos of Kanye talking about the Jays, talking about all of it. None of those are national news. It was only national news at the time when they needed it to be. I'm not saying, the American public would have cared without Kanye, but they were more likely to care, hey, why are we supporting these war criminals being put in office who are running on the platform that they will retake the Gaza Strip? What's happening right now is no surprise. They ran saying, we're going to retake Gaza. They said it over and over again. But Naftali Bennett was a big part of that whole production. And here you have Naftali Bennett in 2010 talking to IsraelNationalNews.com. Let's see what he has to say.
Number one, Moetzet Yesh, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the number one source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to
Okay. Just think about what you just saw. You have a future prime minister of Israel bragging that they are there to teach the Wikipedia editors how to do their job. Wikipedia was the number one source of information in the world at the time. Number one source of information in the world at the time. And their editors needed to be taught how to do their job by Israel of all places. And they were taught how to do their job so that they edit things like, in case you're not understanding exactly what's going on, he mentions the Gaza flotilla, which just happens to be where Ken O'Keefe emerges from. The hero Ken O'Keefe. Ken O'Keefe emerges from it. Don't fall for Ken O'Keefe. Please don't fall for Ken O'Keefe again. I did. Thankfully, I didn't waste money on him, but a lot of people did. $130-some thousand was given to Ken O'Keefe for the World Citizen Project, only for him to leave his wife and his kid behind and go to Colombia with some, brown chick, half his age. Bailed on everyone, no word, no nothing, disappeared for a couple of years, burned through that $130,000 and then reemerged. But he mentions the Gaza flotilla. For all of you that are dumb enough to think that this has all been going on since October 7th, when Hamas attacked the poor Israelis. The Gaza flotilla happened in 2010. It was a beefed up version of Greta Thunberg, where 6 or 7 ferry boats, large yachts, were commissioned under the French authority, flying the French flag, to take supplies, food, medicine, clothing, shit like that, in international waters into Gaza, because there's a way to get, you don't have to go through Israel territory to get directly to the Gaza port. That's what Greta Thunberg was trying to do. And just like they always do, at between 3, 4, 5 in the morning, when it's dark, Israel attacks the convoy. They start boarding the ships. The narrative is that Ken O'Keefe starts fighting back. And, which of course forces Israel to defend itself. And they say that Israel lost one soldier, had one soldier casualty, and several others were injured, but you'll never find any information on who that casualty actually was, because he didn't exist. But in return, Israel ends up killing 9 people aboard that ship. 9 of the 11 people were killed. The 2 that were let go, one of which was Ken O'Keefe. Go figure. That's pretty coincidental, but Israel ends up killing 9 people, 6 of which were later found to have been shot execution style, on their knees, pistol to the head, boom. When a stink was made, and there was, I would say a trial, but it was a joke. When it went to the courts, Israel just said, look, they had the right to defend themselves. They were attacked. They had no choice but to defend themselves. They were being attacked. The ship should have just let them board the ship. Should have let these pirates come at 3 in the morning and take over their ship. Illegally. Completely, totally illegally. They should have just let that happen. And because they didn't let that happen and fought back, Israel had the right to defend itself, so they had to shoot 6 of the people execution style. I mean, what's not to understand about that? Doesn't that make sense to people? That's what he mentioned by name in his explanation. He says that if people were to look up the Gaza flotilla, which is what I did on Wikipedia based on his suggestion, that they want to be there. They want to literally influence how it is written, or what is written and how it's written, to ensure that it has to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature. That means the narrative that I read regarding the Gaza flotilla that made Israel look like fucking ruthless psychopaths is what they wanted me to know. It's all past. The thing about Wikipedia, using Wikipedia as a source, is 1, it's something everybody can use, and 2, there is no hiding with that bullshit. That typical hiding bullshit where they say that, what you're reading is some sort of biased opinion against Israel or some kind of shit like that. No, you guys wrote this. The reason this looks bad is because it's bad, and you can't hide behind anything. So I love using Wikipedia as my source because I know it might not necessarily be the truth, but it is the truth that Israel wants us to know. And imagine if it was anybody else. Imagine if there was a video of a high-ranking Russian person who later becomes prime minister bragging. Like, imagine if there was a video of Putin all those years back before he became prime minister forever, or the premier, whatever the fuck he's called. Imagine if there was video of him being like, yeah, we control the Encyclopedia Britannica to ensure that it's balanced and pro-Russian in everything that's produced. Do you think Americans would be like, that's totally okay? I don't mind that. If it was China, if it was Afghanistan, he doesn't, like, he's a pro that it's balanced and Zionist. Do you know what Zionist is? You probably don't. So let's go to trusty Wikipedia and find out, shall we? Let's see what they want us to know about Zionism. Z-I-O-N. Zionism. Zionism is an ethno-cultural nationalist movement that emerged in late 19th century Europe to establish and support a Jewish homeland through the colonization of Palestine, a region corresponding to the land of Israel in Judaism and central to Jewish history. So, a couple of things there. The whole idea of the Jewish homeland has nothing to do with Palestine. Because they're going to talk about Theodore Herzl, and I don't know if this page will mention it, but there's the Uganda scheme proposal that happened in the late 18s, early 19s. There's something called the first Zionist Council, second Zionist Council, you know. But there was a proposal to give a large portion of Uganda, the Brits were involved, to give a large portion of Uganda to the Jews as a temporary homeland until they could take over Palestine. But they were going to be given their national homeland, blah, 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 bullshit. And the only reason it failed, I think there's two reasons. One reason leads into the other one. The reason given is because it was too far out. It was too far away from all of the main supply chains and shit. And it would have required them to do a lot of work. They wouldn't just be able to have, you know, and this bleeds into the second thing. They wouldn't just be able to have the slaves that they do now. See, now the Palestinians look just like them. So enslaving them is just sort of, it's harder to, like, notice how bad it is because it's the same people doing, you know, they're identical. There is no difference, at least in the Israeli, you know, side of things. But if they would have had black people, if they would have enslaved the people of Uganda like they did the Palestinians, especially with the way that the world was changing at that time, or at least the Americans were changing at that time. I mean, can you imagine it nowadays? Can you imagine if it would have been shown that the Jays enslaved the black people with the help of the Europeans, with the help of the British? Like, it just wouldn't fly, right? Zionists wanted to create a Jewish state in Palestine with as much land, as many Jews, and as few Palestinian Arabs as possible. Oh, by the way, this is one of these Wikipedia pages that can't be edited. So I know a lot of people will cry and say, dude, you're using Wikipedia. Where? It's the best source of information in the world. Whether it's the perspective that they want us to give you, or it's a summary of articles talking about something that happened, it's the best source of information in the world. Because it's the one they want you to use. Doesn't necessarily mean it's true. But to insinuate that anybody but them controls Wikipedia is stupid. I just showed you the video from 2010. What do you think? They did that in 2010, but by 2025, where we're just giving them all the money we can and $30 billion in this and blah, blah, that, and this, that, and the other, and changing our constitution to defend them and all this other. You think they what? They lost control of Wikipedia? No. No. This is just nuts. I forgot what I was saying. Zionism initially emerged in Central and Eastern Europe as a secular nationalist movement in the late 19th centuries in reaction to newer waves of anti-Semitism and in response to Haskalah, or Jewish Enlightenment. See, the thing is, this whole concept of anti-Semitism and just the whole history of it. Oh yeah, I was talking about the locked page. The fact that the page is locked means nobody can edit it. When it's not a locked up page, sure, you might be able to suggest an edit that will then be sent to the editors who have been taught how to edit things so that they're balanced and Zionist in nature. Meaning, if your comment isn't balanced and Zionist in nature, it's going to be removed. It also means, like, Wikipedia would be fucking stupid if they did allow anyone to just edit Wikipedia as they saw fit, because you could just destroy Wikipedia pretty easily, actually. All you'd have to do is click on whatever page you wanted to, click the edit button, click select all, click delete, and then save it. And you could just destroy it. How many pages do you think you could delete before they would catch on? No. Nobody can just edit Wikipedia but Wikipedia. You might be able to suggest it, but that's about it. Oh, shit. Ugh. Hang on, Ski. Sorry about that. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, my gosh. Oh, there we go. What are you gonna pick? Snot rockets. I mean, it's all just right there for you. All you have to do is look. The arrival of Zionist settlers to Palestine during this period is widely seen as the start of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Zionist claim to Palestine was based on the notion that the Jews' historical right to the land outweighed that of the Arabs. How does that even make sense? Can you imagine if a Native American came up to your house, knocked on your door, and was like, "Hey, get out. It's my house now. My ancestors lived here." Or if the previous owners of the house came to the house and was like, "All right, get out. We used to live here. We had this house built. This is our house. Get out. Don't even take your stuff. It's our stuff now." Like, nobody would be okay with that. That doesn't even make sense in any shape or form. Just because the book that you provide or provided says that this shit's your shit doesn't mean it's yours. Any proud American, any military, anything like that, you should be like absolutely opposed to what's going on. Because you would fight. You would absolutely fight if somebody came to you and did that to you. You know, all of you white people here in America, you think this is your land. You wouldn't even entertain the idea of giving shit to the Native Americans if it infringed on you even in the slightest. The little fucking plantation that's given to them, it's always like the shittiest land, the stuff that can't be developed, or at least couldn't back in the day. Nowadays, it might be prime real estate, so who knows how long those reservations are going to be reserved. But it's all just bullshit. They flood the reservation with alcohol. You know, they do everything they can to keep those people down. It's really disgusting. In 1917, the Balfour Declaration established Britain's support for the movement. The Balfour Declaration is actually the Rothschild Declaration, but it couldn't be that obvious. If they made it that obvious, you know, like that's what the world wars have always been about. I'm scared that there's the World War III is going to happen now because Israel is involved. The world wars that take place are all about Israel. That's all they've ever been about. There are other things that transpire. There are other, advantages taken. But the main point of World War I was to establish British Mandate Palestine, to put the British in charge of Palestine. And for the next 30 years, the Palestinians became completely dependent on the British. They didn't have their own military. They didn't have their own government. They were just living a good life. It was nice, Other than the Israeli, terrorist groups that would pop up here and there and do horrible shit, everybody seemed to get along for the most part. It was actually a pretty advanced version of society if you look at the oldest pictures. And then, after World War II gave the excuse with the Holocaust that for some reason the Palestinians have to pay the price for the thing that supposedly happened in Germany. How that even makes sense, it doesn't. It just doesn't. But that's how it was worked out. That because of Germany, now the Palestinians were given the option to give up 56% of their land. And that's sort of it. There's no, that's the deal. Okay, the deal is you give up 56% of your land. You literally get nothing out of it. And surprisingly, the Palestinians didn't take that deal. And because they didn't take that deal and they were being difficult and they didn't want to work, they didn't want peace and they didn't want to work with the Jays, they blah, 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 blah. The narrative is that the Israeli army, the Israeli military, took over Palestine. Because they wouldn't play ball and just give up 56% of their land, the Israeli military came in and took 86% of their land. Because that just makes sense, right? Except for the fact that there was no Israel, so there couldn't have been an Israeli military. They established Israel. And the first operation, the first real part of the takeover is something called Operation Cast Thy Bread. And Operation Cast Thy Bread is Israel poisoning the drinking water system of the town of Acre days before the military came in and wiped the people out. But again, there was no military. So the military was the British, was the Allies. They just turned them around. That's all it was. There was no Israeli military. It wasn't a thing. And that's the Nakba, May 15th, 1948. And the Nakba was called the catastrophe and considered like the unthinkable worst thing that could happen until now. Now it's way worse. The Nakba pales in comparison to what's happening now. Really, it's fucking horrible. And of course, that's your tax dollars. That's your pension funds. That's $3.8 billion a year. You realize the United States, under what's called a memorandum of understanding, signed every 10 years. The last one was drafted and signed into existence by Obama in 2016. And the memorandum of understanding is the 10-year plan by which the United States gives Israel a lump sum cash payment in the first fiscal month, or the first month of the fiscal year every year. Cash payment, no strings attached, no monitoring, no guidelines, nothing. We just give them a large cash payment. And Obama signed the last one, which was $38 billion over 10 years. Now, they were mad because they thought that they should get $100 billion over that 10 years. That's $10 billion a year. Instead, they're stuck with $3.8 billion a year. Now, when it was originally drafted, it had what was considered concessions. Netanyahu had to agree to 2 concessions in order to get this $3.8 billion a year cash payment. Those were, they weren't allowed to ask for any more money until this 10 years is up. And that's just a joke. They were asking for more money like the next day. That's just what they do. And they don't really ask for more money. They just demand more money, and they get it. The second concession was that they weren't allowed to use that money to build their own weaponry. They had to use it to buy weaponry from the United States because there was an illusion at play. The American people need to believe that Israel is one of the biggest buyers of weapons from the United States. They stimulate our economy by spending millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars on United States weaponry. The issue is we give them the $3.8 billion every year, or whatever the memorandum of understanding said. So we give them $3.8 billion a year because of this. And Trump, so Obama signed it in 2016. It seems like it didn't actually go into play until 2018 or even 20. I'm not sure. It was ratified because by the time it was, put to rest, I guess, or the conversation was over, it was all the same except for those 2 stipulations had been removed and replaced with the United States will leave a large cache of weapons in Israel for emergency purposes that the Israelis can use anytime they need, and we'll just keep restocking it. And if you remember back, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, there was that little blip on the radar that was like, is the United States was trying to give munitions to Ukraine. So they went to the cache in Israel, but it was empty. Remember that? Remember that story? But this is how this works. And it's not a treaty, because a treaty would be above the board and there would have to be transparency. No, it's specifically called a memorandum of understanding so that it can be kept from public scrutiny. And Trump will sign the next one in 2026 or 2028. I'm not really sure. But I can guarantee that it's at least $100 billion over the next 10 years, meaning they get $10 billion a year. Now, at $3.8 billion, with the exchange rate, it turns into about 15 billion shekels every year. And the United States isn't even the only ones that give Israel money. Canada gives them about $2 billion. Australia gives them $1.2 billion. And then there's countless other countries that give them hundreds of thousands, if not millions, billions of dollars. They're just given all this money every year to a population of, it was 9 million. I'm sure it's more like 10 million now. But around 10 million people. God damn it. Like this fucking clone. No, you look at my feed and you look at all these fucking comments and you look at all this bullshit. Who in the goddamn hell, what American hears the shit I'm saying and is like, fuck that guy. He's wrong. I don't like that guy. Like, what American is like, no, we need to keep giving money to Israel like crazy. Fuck our roads. Fuck our infrastructure. Fuck putting that $3.8 billion into an official government pedophile hunter group that has the power. Like, how many pedophile hunters can you name off, just off of YouTube? 5, 10? These people are catching pedos every single day. My favorite is DAP, because DAP just beats the shit out of the guys, knowing the cops basically aren't going to do shit about it. DAP beats the shit out of the guys. That's great. Hopefully they're scared, because they're all cowards. All you pedos are cowards. All you Trump-supporting pedos are cowards. And in my mind, if you still support Trump after all this time and everything going on, clearly you have a search history or a folder or something that you don't want people looking at that involves children. Only a pedo can overlook what Trump does. Only pedos. It's not like you can say things like, well, he's fucking giving us free health care and, he's strengthened America somehow. You know how much money this motherfucker... This dude, have you seen the video of him pulling out and pushing in Netanyahu's chair? Show me a video of him doing that to somebody else. Anyone else. Right now they have us so distracted by the Epstein thing and the Trump connection. Do you realize, like, again, just like Kanye, even more so than Kanye, Epstein wasn't a fucking famous person. Epstein wasn't some superstar. Epstein was some guy in the shadows who would have remained in the shadows and nobody would have known about him had the news not told us to care. And there are all sorts of stories of these motherfuckers, getting busted, this, that. Kevin Spacey was fucking famous. You don't hear shit about Kevin Spacey anymore, do you? How many of you know that the principal from Ferris Bueller, fucking pedo, got in a bunch of trouble? What about Hyde from that 70s show? That dude's in prison for a long time, or maybe probably get out soon, if he's not already out. Weinstein. You guys know that when Weinstein had a Goyim judge, he got the big sentence? Recently, while you're all distracted by other shit, that sentence was overturned when a J judge got a chance to overturn it. Do you guys know that? I think Weinstein's free. I'm not sure. Let's see. Is Harvey Weinstein in prison? Yes, he's still in prison. Currently held at Rikers Island Jail Complex in New York. I bet he's not. I just don't believe it. I know they lie. Maybe he's supposed to be in prison. But if he's in Israel, how would any of us know? And they wouldn't tell. This whole Ghislaine thing. It's like, you guys just don't know enough. You just don't know enough. Because I think if you did, there would be no question. You would have no doubt in your mind. And you would be demanding more solution. More. You wouldn't play this fucking bullshit. This is tremendous. This is horrendous. But you play along, I guess. You know, if you're not talking about Robert Maxwell, when you're talking about Epstein, you have to talk about the bigwigs that got him where he was. Robert Maxwell, Donald Barr. You know, these are huge people, organizations. Not Bill Barr. Bill Barr to an extent, but Donald Barr is a bigger piece. But Robert Maxwell is like the real smoking gun piece of this that's just being ignored. You know, not ignored. There are people talking about it, but not to the degree that they need to. And again, it all comes down to, unless you're talking about the Jewish connection, you're being duped. You know, it has to be mentioned. When you listen to the interviews from some of the people associated with it, and they talk about the things Ghislaine used to say, or she would hear, they would hear her say to another person, "Oh, well, they're just goyim," and shit like that. She would say stuff like that all the time. You know, when you understand that the reason this whole thing was silenced is because of the Israeli connection. Epstein is alive, isn't dead, and it was Robert Maxwell 2.0, who never died either. Well, he's dead now, but he didn't die in the boating accident like they want you to believe. Do you guys get this, man? The Robert Maxwell connection, the Israeli connection? For it to be happening like it is, along with the genocide and everything else that's going on, like, what are we waiting for? Right? We as the Goyim, not the government, not the bullshit system that they use to control us. What is stopping us from unifying? You know, it's the pre-programmed bullshit that tells you you're not allowed to talk about this. And that's what you see on so many of these in-depth videos where they're getting right there. They like come up right up to the J connection, and then they turn and go back and start focusing on other shit. Because it's like they don't know how to talk about it. Or on the other side of that, you'll have guys like Stu Peters who will talk about the shit, but at the same time still pushes their mind control bullshit by saying he's a Christian. He's a Christian and Jesus and blah, blah, blah. If you're a Christian, you're a slave. Your whole Christian identity is based in fraud. It's fake. Your whole Bible is a Jewish fairy tale. All of the main characters in the Bible are Jewish. And they literally talk about the Gentiles as a separate group. Not us Gentiles, those Gentiles. The slaves. Like, I just don't understand, other than the fear of death thing. But even if you have a fear of death, like, you know you're not going to heaven, right? You know you're going to hell by your own belief structure. So why condemn yourself to that bullshit? I mean, it's not real. But if your last thoughts in life are, you know, like, you know, we all know that people say they die and then their brain plays pictures for them based on the programming. Well, I mean, who's to say your brain isn't going to be honest with you? And be like, yeah, you know how we had sex before we were fucking married a bunch of times and loved it? You know how we had sex for means other than procreation? You know how you got those fucking tattoos all over? Ears pierced? These are just basic. Remember all the lengths you actually ate meat on? And remember all that shit? Yeah, you're going to hell. You knew better and did it anyway. You can't even begin to repent for everything you've done because you don't remember all of it. There's going to be some shit that slips through, and we know that your God is a vengeful motherfucker. Especially since, it gave you the list. Like, this is how you know most Christians are just full of shit, right? If you honestly thought there was any chance that any of that was true, you thought that once, you had this little blink in the eye of time as a life form, and then you could spend eternity either in hell or in heaven, you would do everything in your power to ensure that you did not go to hell. You would know both testaments, Old and New, and you would follow them to a T, even though it's impossible. But you wouldn't risk it. Risk it for the biscuit. If you thought that hell was even a slight possibility, you would do everything to avoid it. And most of you don't even know your fucking Bible. You just claim the good parts. It really is just unbelievable stupidity that continues to dominate our existence. And it's slavery, and it's you can see when you look at the Bible exactly why you believe in the Bible by what's happening today. If it wasn't God's chosen people doing all of this, we would be outraged. Our system would be outraged. Or if this was being done to God's chosen people, again, outrage. But the reality is, they've long tricked you. They have you thinking that the solutions to the problem are the problem. And you don't realize what's happening. The idea of a one world government is absolutely the solution to the problem. I am all for a one world government that gives everyone the same rights, same equal existence. It doesn't matter that you cross over some invisible line bullshit that some fucking king or queen or J bullshit put in place. You still have the right to exist, even if you're gay. Even, you're as a woman, your rights don't change. Shit like that. Children are protected equally across the world. And a one world religion, another great thing. Right? As long as it's in the right direction. If the one world religion is the belief in man and what we're capable of doing, then fuck yeah, everybody needs to believe that. Not some Sky Daddy control scheme bullshit created by the Jays. You could say, oh well, there's more Muslims than there are Christians, and then there's all these little different sects of each one, and blah blah blah. The reality is, if all three are Abrahamic religions, they're all controlled by the same system. And the reality is, again, you only believe it out of arrogance. It 100% has to do with your own personal arrogance. Not a single fucking person can even begin to answer for me why they believe in Christianity over Islam or vice versa. They might say some dumb shit, but they can't give any reasonable, articulable argument one way or another. Look at these dumb fucking comments. Not a single one makes any sense of, even begins to talk about what's being talked about because they can't. I'm not wrong about anything. If I was wrong about anything and these guys could, focus on it, they would. They don't. And they just do everything they can to try to distract. Because I'm right. And they fear me. They want you guys to think I'm crazy. They want you, they're trying to give you the excuse. So when I start making sense and you start going, hey, wait a minute, then you read and you go, oh, wait, he's crazy. Okay, cool. Whew. He was starting to make sense. I'm not crazy, so he doesn't make sense. It's that whole fitting in thing. You got to fit in. They tell you that they're the supreme God's chosen, and you better fucking believe it. Because if you don't, I have a pamphlet here. Come on, sister. Come on, sister. Oh, yeah. Right. So, again, what facts are being stated there? You're not actually debunking. You're just blanket statement bullshit. And that's really all you're ever going to see. The reason this person is here is because I have such a weird ideology. So, this person is here every single day for hours at a time, for months now, desperately trying to get my attention by saying stupid things because I have a weird ideology. Won't actually address any specific thing that I'm getting wrong. But that's the reason why he doesn't do anything else with his life. That I'm the number one thing in his life. I would guarantee that there's probably not something else that he does more consistently in his life than watches my feed. You know, I can't even come close to saying I do that about anybody. And yet, he does this because I'm wrong? Like, this is just so silly. But look, ask any of them. Why are you here? What is your reason for being here? What is your reason for opposing the guy who thinks we should kill pedos and eliminate the J control scheme? Right? Like, what do you think? To me, it's obvious it's Israeli bullshit. It's Israeli interference. But there'll be like the pseudo denial, but there won't be a reason given. What would motivate anybody to be here every day? I know my motivation is to eliminate the pedophiles and to overthrow the J overlords that you know keep us in this lesser position, that are killing children and raping children, the whole pedo network. Like, I want to cut the head off the monster, so that's why I'm here. What's your reason? And notice none of them will say it. None of them, just like they won't say what I'm wrong about, they won't say why they're here. And if you think that's just normal, like, is that stuff you guys do? Is that what you go, you know, you have nothing else going on in your day, in your life, you all the hundreds of other options, thousands, millions of other options on YouTube, the TV shows, DVDs, other computer platforms, Facebook, Hulu's. You can go outside. You could be fucking somebody. You could be watching porn. You could be jerking off. You could be doing anything else in the world. You could be learning something. You could be skydiving. You could be doing anything you want. And instead you're here, begging for my attention. Like, I haven't even answered questions. You guys notice that? I haven't even really addressed anybody for quite some time, for most of this video. And that they're still here, like, ooh, 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 ooh. And they just keep doing it over and over again. It's the craziest shit, man. It's such a weird, flattering, like, weirdly and like, you know, empowering thing to have this much control over other people, to get this much energy from anyone. You know, if there's some sort of transference of energy, even if it's their negative energy is just gobbled up. But to you know, to not only be here like there, but you know, it's to me, again, I realize like what's going on. And if I get something wrong, if I try to spell something and I get it wrong, or I start doing some math wrong or something like that, not only will they pounce on it, they'll bring it up for years. Remember that time you got that one math thing wrong that one time? So we know that they can focus on the things that I'm actually saying. We know that if they think they have me dead to rights on something, they'll pounce on it. And yet, flat out asking them, well, why are you here and what am I getting wrong, never yields any responses other than more, you know, well, I'm here because you're crazy. That doesn't answer the question. It's not like they're on other people's videos after mine. It's not like they go anywhere else. You know, they don't. There's no after mine interference. Because if I were to just go live again at any point, they'd be here. They're not watching anything else. Doesn't matter how late it is. Doesn't matter what day it is. And to me, it's easily answerable by Team Jorge, act.il, and other programs like it. Programs using the Advanced Impact Media Solutions program that Israel has, which automates as many as 30,000 profiles back in 2022. Probably better now, but automates social media profiles that are controlled by, you know, it centralizes control of thousands of fake social media profiles. But these profiles aren't necessarily bots. They call them avatars because they exist with a technology that nobody else seems to have. Avatars have multiple profiles, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. They have the same profile on each thing, and they can communicate. You know, it's limited why they can't actually, you know, engage in certain situations, or they just start repeating themselves or whatever it is. But it's also very telling because it's not like the program has been programmed in a way to point out good shit that Israel does or point out why the Jays are good people or anything good. It's all just, you know, it's all just ammunition for me. You know, they literally just prove my point over and over again. And you know, it's because it's either programmed that way or even, you know, if this is AI, then just like the guy who had the John Cena AI talking about the original Yankee Stadium and you know, challenging the AI to explain how this thing was, because it's supposedly built in a year. And so this guy breaks it down. He has the system break it down. How many men would it take? How much horses would it? How many hours would it take? Finally getting the program to say it's impossible that this building was built in over a year, or in a year. And you could tell that the system is sort of like getting frustrated. And then suddenly he asks it a question and it just shuts down. It just crashes. And I think that's what happens on here a lot, is when the system starts crashing, they shut off the comments and shit. But you see that. You see that they have the ability to maintain conversation, at least, you know, sort of, for a certain period of time, but it can't go anywhere. And again, I don't think a computer, I think we are outsmarting the computer, because not even the computer can tell you why the Jays are good, why we should keep accommodating this cult, this Matitza Bape cult. Look that shit up. METZITZIA hyphen PEH, or B apostrophe PEH. You tell me why we accommodate that shit. That's the circumcision ritual, cutty, slicey, sucky part, you know. Even though it's exactly what they do, and it's supposedly okay, if you talk about it too much, the system doesn't like that. But it's all really obvious. It's all right in front of you. How does somebody go from over 200 viewers to now 19 viewers and 20 likes? How does that ever even happen? More and more people are watching, and then they're just not. It just stops. You know, it's goofy and it's obvious. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you.
We'd like to have more sun, but you know, when it's out, then we're like, oh, I'm dying of
I was just gonna say I've had a bunch this year. It's nice and cool today. Have a great day.
You too.
It's like ye tribute and Nazi stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's just like everything else. These people don't have a fucking idea of what's going on. These profiles, they can't do this. They can't engage. I'm not wrong. If I was wrong about anything from dry ice to fucking Israel bullshit, they would tell me. They can't. They short circuit. You know? It's obvious what's going on here. And you know, look at all the profiles. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to look up the 2013 thing. What happened in 2013? Because so many of these profiles have been on here, have been active, have had their YouTube profile for 12 years, but they have no subscribers, or like 3 or 5 or whatever subscribers. 12 years. And you can't say that they're like, you know, they don't use their they're fucking, look at how active they are on here. Unless I'm special, you know, shouldn't they be active in a bunch of other pages, a bunch of other communities? If they're this active on my page, but no, 12 years, no subscribers. Fucking Sonic the Hedgehog in your picture so little kids will be attracted to you. Like, they're just weird, man. They're just weird, fucked up, you know. It's the manifestation of the fear. The last thing they want is people like me out here questioning things. You know, proving to you that they're spraying the shit out of us. And then research, like, think about it. Just like yesterday. I showed you it happening. Go look at the video from yesterday. It was fucking nuts. The flight tracker proves that they're not there. Those planes aren't accounted for. We look up the history of it and how ridiculous it is to say that they're not doing it. We actually had one today where it was 2 of them. One stopped right around in front of me, right about in front of me. Another one came through 5 minutes later, if that, real close to it, you know, this far apart from our view. And this one went all across the sky. So for everybody that says, oh, it's atmospheric, it's temperature, it's this, it's that, it wasn't. None of those things, all those things get debunked by that one, by those 2 trails right next to each other. Virtually the same height, though one was a plumy one and one was just a thick one. And now this is what we have above us. It's supposed to rain today. You know, I always say, like, I'm as irritating as these fucking troll Israeli coward trolls are. I'm so grateful that they're here and not trolling for kids. If I can keep them busy for a couple of hours, I'm okay with it. You know, they can talk all the shit they want. Obviously, it just emboldens me. But, like, as long as they're not free doing what they normally do, I'm good with it. These are cowards. These people need to die. There should be no second chance. You didn't accidentally show up to the fucking house where the 15-year-old was, 14-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever, even younger. Fucking crazy. I personally, if you're in your 30s, 40s, whatever, and you're trying to hook up with a legal 16-year-old, you're a piece of shit. That's disgusting. I think we should cancel The Godfather. I can't believe that movie is still so revered when it has child exploitation. It is child exploitation materials. You are watching a 30-year-old man pretending to be a 26-year-old man, like attacking. I don't even know how else to describe it. You can see the fire in Pacino's eyes, and you have to wonder how much was left on the cutting room floor. They say that scene was one take because she was, you know, all those nervous emotions she had, they were real because she didn't even know she was going to be doing that. And they separated her from her mother and got her into this room and did this scene. And who knows where it went? Who knows how far those sickos took it? But she is either 14 or 15 playing a 16, 17-year-old girl. So even if it was like she wasn't 14, if you just look at the narrative the show that the movie gives you, that a 26-year-old man was infatuated by a 16, 17-year-old girl, whose idea was that? And it seems like the whole Italy scene was building up to that, because the Italy scene is basically, you know, nothing. Like it doesn't really add to the story at all. The whole thing like sidetracks. So his first wife gets killed and she's never mentioned again. That's it. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Saturday, Friday. But and you could even leave in the whole Italy scene and take out the sex scene. The sex scene does literally nothing other than make the shit uncomfortable. I didn't realize that I forgot about that scene, blocked that scene in my head, because I just, it's awful, right? But I was watching it with my boys a couple of years ago. Now, mind you, these are like, you know, 11 and 9, 10 and 12. Don't remember quite exactly what it was. Maybe it was earlier. But these are little hornball boys. When she took off her shirt, my boy said, "Ew, what's wrong with her boobs?" Because she has prepubescent boobs. It's gross. It's not gross in that, oh, that, you know, human being. They're not gross people or anything. It's gross to think that we're being shown a fucking 14 or 15-year-old's chest. And that a 30-year-old man, Al Pacino, playing a 26-year-old man, is infatuated with her. Like, it's fucking sick. I just can't. I cannot believe. I can't. It should be illegal. It should be illegal to view it. If you sent pictures of a 14-year-old's chest to somebody over the internet, that's fucking child exploitation materials, man. Nobody's going to be like, oh, look at the artistic flair. Look at the Led Zeppelin cover. Over the hills and far away. Or whatever the fuck that... Is that what that... Or is that a song? Is that a song? I don't care. I don't want to look it up because it's fucking gross. And that shit's everywhere. There's so much shit like that. I remember when I was like 21 or 22, my dad came out to California, and Ashanti was a big star at the time. And I remember saying to my dad, like, isn't she hot? And he was like, nah, she just looks like a little girl to me. And my dad must have been like 42, 43 at the time, something like that. Depending on how old I was, he is 20 years older than me, so. And I just thought, how could you possibly think that? She's hot. And now Ashanti was younger at the time. She was probably 18 or so at the time. I didn't know Ashanti was as young as she was when she first broke onto the scene. But now, as a 40-something-year-old man, I can totally see it. Why he wouldn't be attracted to her. She's cute. She's a cute girl. Yeah, whatever. There's nothing sexual about that. At least not sexually appropriate for a 40-something to be fucking with a goddamn teenager. That shit's wrong. But that's how we're like trained to think. You know, we've all grown up seeing these you know, it's like Catherine Zeta-Jones is like this opposite one, that it's just so shocking to see this beautiful... Oh wait, no, what am I talking about? Catherine Zeta-Jones is exactly the same thing. I don't know what I was thinking. But you see it all the time, shit like Catherine Zeta-Jones, where she's with Kirk Douglas or whatever Douglas it is, and he's like 20 years her senior, and she's like, you got some soup on your lip, honey. Yeah, thank you, dear. Shit's gross. Anna Nicole Smith and that old fucking man she was with. How has there not been an investigation into the Anna Nicole Smith story, especially after that video surfaced with her, like, clearly fucking MK Ultra, what the fuck is going on kind of shit? It's wild. You know, how many times does like Angelina Jolie, right? This broad was like, hey, you know, Weinstein and the whole rape culture of these crazy Jays in Hollywood. And people were like, nah. What's her name? Gwyneth Paltrow. These women were A-list actresses making millions and millions of dollars a movie. Some of the most beautiful women in the world. And they just quit? What do you think made them quit? All their lives they wanted to be actresses. I mean, Angelina Jolie's story is so fucking weird. Her kissing her brother and shit like that. Like, just, what the fuck? What the fuck? But anybody that was raised in that environment, obviously they're fucking insane. And the whole thing is controlled by them. They control Hollywood. They pull all the strings. They did not create Hollywood or inherit Hollywood and turn it into the global weapon that it is, only to give it up. That would be fucking stupid. Why would they ever do something like that? It's at the pinnacle of its power, and they're like, fuck it. We don't need this anymore. There's two Hollywoods. There's East Coast Hollywood and West Coast Hollywood. West Coast Hollywood handles entertainment. East Coast Hollywood handles government, news, information. But it's all just bullshit. Do you honestly think the machine is that good that in 24-hour cycles they can produce entire news shows, graphics, scripts written, personalities, all that shit? No. All that shit is days in the making, weeks in the making. It's just such an efficient factory-style platform that they can produce it every day. But this is a well-oiled machine designed to control what we think. Why do you think any time a Jay is killed, it's considered a hate crime? Like they'll do everything they can to make it a hate crime. And one that we don't talk about nearly enough is the Grafton Thomas story. How many of you have ever met somebody named Grafton? Grafton. Grafton. You met a lot of Graftons in your life? I can tell you I've never met a Grafton ever. Not once. And yet this is the guy who supposedly burst into a Hanukkah celebration wielding a machete and started stabbing people, because that's what you do with a machete. Let's see if we can find the narrative, because I don't want to mess up the details, because it's fucking goofy. Grafton Townhomes. Grafton Thomas. Department of Justice. That's a PDF. The Mansi Hanukkah stabbing. Do you guys know what Hanukkah celebrates? Do you guys know anything about any of this shit? Here in Detroit, they erect a 30-foot menorah downtown that's fed by natural gas, so it stays lit for all of Hanukkah, to accommodate the beliefs of 2, maybe 3% of the United States population, 0.183% of the world's population, all for the Hanukkah celebration. But how many of you actually know what it is? I bet you don't. I bet you don't. On the night of December 18th, 2019, the seventh night of the Jewish holiday Hanukkah, a masked man wielding a large knife or machete invaded the home of the Hasidic rabbi Hasidic rabbi in Monsey, New York, United States, where a Hanukkah party was underway, and began stabbing the guests with his machete. 5 men were wounded, 2 of whom were hospitalized in critical condition. Party guests forced the assailant to flee by wielding chairs and a small table. 3 months after the stabbing, the most severe injured victim, Rabbi Joseph Newman, age 72, died of his wounds. Sure he did. He didn't die of old age. He died of his stab wounds from the machete. The suspect was captured shortly after the attack. He had a long history of serious mental illness and had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia the year before the attack. He was charged in state court of 5 counts of attempted murder and 1 count of first-degree burglary, and in federal court on federal hate crime charges. Judge ruled him incompetent to stand trial on both the state and the federal charges. So, he's gone. If he was in prison, he could be interviewed. But because he's in a mental institution, there's no access to him. And they kept doing it. Oh, they kept extending it and saying, okay, well, we'll have a new trial in 6 months. Oh, well, no, he's too crazy. Oh, he's too crazy. Rockland County, which includes the hamlet of Monsey, is noted for having the largest percentage of Jewish residents per capita of any U.S. county. a total of 31.4%, 90,000. Additionally, large and growing Hasidic communities are based in Monsey, New Square, and Kiryas Joel. The incident was the second stabbing attack in Monsey's Jewish community in as many months. A 30-year-old Orthodox Jewish man was stabbed several times by an unidentified assailant while he was on his way to pre-dawn prayers in late November and underwent surgery. Oh, huh. That's weird. The incident took place in the home of Rabbi Hayom Rottenberg of the Kosan Hasidic dynasty. A Hasidic dynasty is a dynasty led by Hasidic spiritual leaders known as rabbis, and usually has some or all of the following characteristics. Each leader of the dynasty is referred to as an admor, abbreviation for our master, our teacher, and our rabbi, or simply rebbe, and at times called the Rav, and sometimes referred to in English as a grand rabbi. The dynasty continues beyond the initial leader's lifetime by succession, usually by a family descent. So sounds like it's like a monarchy. The dynasty is usually named after a key town in Europe, Eastern Europe, where the founder may have been born or lived, and sometimes, such as in the base of the Bosner Hayom, or I don't know, where the group began to grow and flourish, or where a significantly influential Jewish teacher founds a court or yeshiva where students go to learn from or consult with that rabbi. The dynasty has or once had followers who, through time, continue following successive leaders, rabbis, or may even continue as a group without a leader by following the precepts of a deceased leader. Distinguished from a dynasty, a Hasidic group or Hasidic group has the following characteristics. It was founded by a leader who did not appoint or leave a successor. It may be named after a key town in Eastern Europe where the founder may have been born, lived, or where the group began to grow and flourish. Or it may be named after a founder. It has followers who continue to follow a group. Okay, so think about like how ridiculous that is. Why would people ever do that? Why would anybody appoint like a master, our leader, our master, our teacher? What the fuck are we talking about here? We're almost, this is from the Kosan Hasidic dynasty, where almost 100 people had gathered to watch the rabbi light the candles and to celebrate a Hanukkah party on the 7th night of Hanukkah, December 28, 2019. Around 10 p.m., a man with his face covered by a scarf entered the house and immediately began stabbing bystanders with a large knife, a machete. 5 people, all Hasidic Jews, were injured. One suffered a skull fracture and was unconscious and in critical condition. The 72-year-old man was in a coma for 59 days, but died on March 2020. In March of 2020. Not on the day, just in March. Okay. Rottenberg's son was also among the injured. Guests struck back, hitting the attacker with chairs and a small table. Why is that just continuously repeated over and over again? The attack lasted no more than 2 minutes. Funny how that always seems to happen in these kinds of scenarios that they give us. These incredibly fast times, like 2 minutes is incredibly fast. For any sort of details to have happened, it's incredibly fast. I keep saying I got to do San Bernardino to show you what I'm talking about. But the whole San Bernardino attack was said to be 2 or 3 minutes long. And then the chase from the house to where the shootout happened was a minute long. Like, it takes a minute just to explain what's said to have happened, let alone that it did happen. But this is just how they do it. The suspect then fled the house and attempted to enter the synagogue next door. Congregation Netziak Yisrael, also headed by Rottenberg, but the doors had been locked to prevent his entry. How did they know? How would they have known? Capture of suspect. The suspect then fled the scene in a car. This man was so mentally deranged he can't stand trial, but he was driving and had an apartment and what? A witness provided police with the license plate number of the getaway car. At 11:45 p.m., a license plate reader on the George Washington Bridge captured the license plate of the car as it entered New York City. New York City police stopped the car in Harlem and arrested the driver without incident after midnight. According to Rockland's County Senior District Attorney Michael Dugansik, police found the suspect with blood on his clothes and smelling strongly of bleach. The New York police handed the suspect over to Ramampo police, who transported him back to Muncie County to be arraigned. I mean, this just doesn't make any sense. So, what was he driving around? He had bleach? Like, when I first read it, they found him in his... We didn't need paper. We have so much.
This is for the school.
Oh. When it was originally set forth, it was that he had gotten home and he was sleeping when they found him. That was the original report. So it's weird to hear that this is how it's been turned. But he was originally sleeping when they found him, and he didn't know what was going on, and like... But the suspect, Grafton E. Thomas, is 37, is an African American who lived in Greenwood Lake, northwest of Muncie. Thomas had been arrested at least 7 times since 2001 on charges which include assault, resisting arrest, killing or injuring a police animal, driving under the influence, possessing controlled substances, and menacing a police or peace officer. So he had been arrested and tried 7 times. How could he not be fit to stand trial for this? I mean, that don't make no sense, right? If you agree, if you say that don't make no sense, then like the video, share the video, and sub. If not, smash the dislike. He was jailed briefly in 2013 for possession of a controlled substance. Another previous arrest was for punching a police horse. What? Who does that? Thomas was further charged in 2018 for weapon possession, endangerment, and menacing a policeman. And yet he was still out and about? He was charged in 2018 for weapon possession, endangerment, and menacing a policeman? And this happened in December of 2019? Why wasn't he in prison? This happened in 2019, December. He was charged in 2018 for weapon possession, endangerment, and menacing a policeman. Why wasn't he in prison? Especially since he had a long history of this kind of shit. Shouldn't he have already been in prison?
Yes.
Investigators found handwritten journals, of course, expressing anti-Semitic views, including material about Adolf Hitler, Nazi culture, and drawings of a Star of David and of a swastika among Thomas's possessions. Authorities stated that his journals also included what appeared to be a reference to a fringe religious movement, Black Hebrew Israelites. That's who from Hebrew to Negro. See how it all comes full circle. Which the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and Southern Poverty Law Center have identified as links to anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is those who oppose supremacy. You know that in 2020 or 2021, they changed the spelling of anti-Semitism from ANTI-SEMITISM to all one word, ANTI-SEMITISM, all lowercase. They're given reason for changing the spelling of this word that had been this way since the 1880s, was that they didn't want us to know or to think that anti-Semitism opposed something called Semitism. They didn't want us to know that Semitism was a word. Why wouldn't they want you to know Semitism is a word? Because you might look it up and realize that it's supremacy, policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. That's it. There's no questioning it. There's no conspiracy theory about it. It's what it is. With Thomas stating that Hebrew Israelites have taken from Ebidnoid Israelites. So this man is so capable that he's driving around. He's been arrested a bunch of times. He should have been in prison. He has these journals that he's written that know about this fringe stuff that would have had to, he couldn't have learned anywhere other than learning it himself. And yet he's not fit to stand trial for the crime he's said to have committed. Interesting. On the Saturday before the attack, the suspect's mobile browser was used to access an article titled "New York City Increases Police Presence in Jewish Neighborhoods." Right. So what had happened was, or maybe it was as a result of this, I can't remember. So this might have been, but Cuomo, and depending on which article you read, it was like between 5,000 and 20,000 Jews marched across the one of the bridges. Maybe it was the Brooklyn Bridge. I can't remember which one it was. And demanded $45 million be given to the Jewish community for more security, and they got it. It didn't say where the money would be spent or anything like that, but that the government just gave the Jewish community $45 million. In recent weeks, Thomas had searched online for the phrase, "Why did Hitler hate the Jays?" multiple times, because you can't find it. There is no, like you would think if he was really doing all this shit for the blah, 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 and the this, that, and the other reason, it would have been, he would have had a journal. He would have had a manifesto of some sort. The rumor is that when Hitler was a young artist, a Jew gave him a harsh criticism on one of his paintings. I mean, Hitler was Jewish. His mother was Jewish. So that makes him Jewish by birth. Just not talked about very much. As well as German Jewish temples near me. He had also searched for Zionist temples in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and in Staten Island, New York. Thomas is also under investigation on suspicion of having committed a previous stabbing attack on an Orthodox Jewish man on his way to early prayer at 5:30 a.m. exactly on November 20th, 2019. The victim was critically injured. Thomas's lawyer issued a statement on behalf of his family asserting that Thomas did not belong to any hate groups. Mental disorder. Thomas has a long history of serious mental illness. His condition had been deteriorating for at least a decade. He had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia in 2018 when he underwent a psychiatric evaluation at the Orange County Medical Center, which is red for some reason. The Orange County Medical Center is red. There's no page for it. Okay. Then why is it even highlighted? After being arrested for confronting a police officer with a knife. In April 2019, 8 months before the attack, Thomas was hospitalized for several days for psychiatric disorders. Thomas was arraigned on December 29th, 2019 in a New York State court in Rockland County to 5 attempts of attempted murder and 1 count of first-degree burglary. He pled not guilty. Bail was set at $5 million. What? In March 2020, after 72-year-old Rabbi Joseph Newman died from his wounds 3 months after the attack, the Rockland County District Attorney announced that it would seek a grand jury indictment against Thomas for second-degree murder. Separately, on December 30th, 2019, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York filed a criminal complaint charging Thomas with 5 counts of obstruction of free exercise of religious beliefs involving an attempt to kill and use of a dangerous weapon and resulting in bodily injury, a federal hate crime. He was indicted by the federal grand jury on the charge. In April 2020, a federal judge ruled that Thomas was incompetent to stand trial on federal charges and ordered him to be hospitalized in a mental facility. Since that time, Thomas has mostly been detained at the Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri, although he has been transferred to a New York facility ahead of the court proceedings there. A new examination in 2021 found that Thomas was still incompetent. In January 2020, a state judge also ruled out that Thomas was incompetent to stand trial on the state charges. On January 17, 2024, Rockland County Judge Kevin Russo ordered Thomas to be held at Mid-Hudson Forensic Psychiatric Center for up to 2 additional years, while Thomas is receiving psychiatric treatment for his trial remains postponed. So by January 17th, we should hear more about this, right? Political impact. The crime has sparked a discussion about the impact of recent New York State bail reforms, which require courts to release individuals on non-monetary conditions for almost all misdemeanors and non-violent felonies, as well as burglary and robbery in the second degree, regardless of whether the crime is a hate crime. What? First of all, this whole notion of hate crime is just fucking stupid. Most crimes, like murder, are committed because of hate. Thomas had previously been released from police custody after being arrested for a number of minor violent crimes. Well, minor? He punched a police horse. He punched a police horse. New York Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. Ooh, he's such a good guy, isn't he? Described the attack as an act of domestic terrorism. I wonder what he says about all the black people killed all the time. And ordered the New York State Police's hate crime task force to launch an investigation. Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, pleaded zero tolerance for acts of hate of any kind. You are not allowed to hate stuff. Acts of hate. I'm supposed to just like everything. And expressed her support for the Jewish community, of course. Well, hey, you know, I submit. United States Senator from New York, Chuck Schumer, called the attack an act of pure evil, and added in a tweet that the cascade of anti-Semitic attacks is outrageous throughout metropolitan New York and America and must not be tolerated. So the thing is, they have this little hotline that they can call, and if somebody says something they don't like, or somebody looks at them funny, or somebody calls out something they do, they call ADL and they say, hey, this was a hate crime. He said something I didn't like. They were calling it a hate crime that there was this random video of an old Jewish man walking, and some kids ran by and flipped his hat off. We don't know what happened before the tape started. He could have said some shit to them. We don't know that. But they ran by and flipped his hat off, and they called that a hate crime. President Donald Trump tweeted this message the following day. The anti-Semitic attack in Monsey, New York on the 7th night of Hanukkah last night was horrific. We must all come together to fight, confront, and eradicate the evil scourge of anti-Semitism. Melania and I wish the victims a quick and full recovery. Anti-Semitism is one of those things where they've tricked you into saying you're not doing it when you absolutely should be proud of your anti-Semitism. It's anti-supremacy. They're telling the truth. Whenever somebody says something they don't like and they say, oh, that's anti-Semitism, they're right. Because Semitism would mean you shut the fuck up and you don't do what you're not supposed to do. You don't step out of line. You don't say what you're not supposed to say. You're a good little goyim. That's why it's so broadly used. And instead of you going, fuck yeah, I oppose supremacy in all of its forms, you've been tricked into thinking you're being called like a racist or something. And you go, oh, no, 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 that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. Why do you think no rabbis and shit come in here? After all this time, after everything I've done, after everything I've said, no preachers, no pastors, no reverends, no priests, no rabbis ever come in here and tell me what I'm getting wrong. Why do you think that is? Because their bullshit won't work. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated, Israel unequivocally condemns the recent expressions of anti-Semitism and the vicious attack in the middle of Hanukkah on the rabbi's house in Monsey, New York. Expressions of anti-Semitism and the vicious attack in the middle of Hanukkah on the rabbi's house in Monsey, New York. We send our wishes of recovery to the wounded. We will cooperate in every way with the local authorities in order to defeat this phenomenon. But like when it's investigate the murder of Shireen Abu Akleh, no, they're not gonna cooperate in any way. They'll do what they want. Interesting how that works. President of Israel, Reuven Rivlin, also expressed his shock and outrage, adding, the rise of anti-Semitism. Isn't it funny how they all say the exact same thing? The rise of anti-Semitism. The rise of anti-Semitism. You know, if you repeat the lie loud enough and long enough, people will think it's true. It's not just a Jewish problem, and certainly not just the state of Israel's problem. Yeah, it is. Four New York Jewish politicians, New York Councilman Hayom Deutsch and Kalman Yeager, New York State Senator Simcha Fedler, and New York State Assemblyman Simcha Eckenstein, two Simchas, wrote a letter to New York Governor Cuomo asking him to assign a special prosecutor for anti-Semitic hate crimes and to send the New York National Guard to protect Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods, claiming that it is no longer safe to be identifiable Orthodox in the state of New York. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? And that's the end of it, of course. List of anti-Semitic incidents in the United States. Oh, I've never seen this. Civil rights groups in the United States, and such as the Anti-Defamation League, American Jewish Committee, and Simon Wiesenthal Center, catalog anti-Semitic incidents including assaults, harassment, vandalism, violence, and threats of violence. Resurgence of anti-Semitism. Research has shown a rising level of anti-Semitism since the 2010s, according to the ADL. Yeah, you know, since the internet started showing people the truth. You can't keep hiding in your lie. There were 8,873 anti-Semitic incidents across the United States in 2023. Seriously, do you understand how much bullshit that is? Do you understand that the idea that somebody says something that one of them doesn't like so they can call some sort of hotline and complain and then it gets cataloged as this hate crime is fucking crazy? Do you not understand that? Like, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Not the way they want us to. It does make sense. Everything makes sense. It makes sense if there's a fucking conspiracy, for sure. But this shit is nuts. A 140% bump from the 3,698 in 2022. Gee, I wonder why. Is it because the October 7th false flag was done? And then the subsequent genocide? and people have been saying things that they don't like ever since? Is that why? The idea that, like think about it. They're saying that it's 8,873 attacks, basically. Tell me any of them that you've heard of. Tell me any time you've heard of anyone being beat, like when you think about these protests that are at all the universities still to this day, every single day. They could never claim that the Jays are beaten up. If they could, it would be all over the news. All over the news. And just think about, where's the group for black people that compiles these lists? Where's the group for Christians? You know something that's never talked about is the fact that the United States is full of Christian on Christian crime, white on white crime. Black on black crime is talked about, but not white on white crime. Not Christian crime. Nobody talks about all the Christian crime that's going on. If it was anything else, it would be a big deal. If Christianity actually mattered and it wasn't just the dumb Goyim religion, it would actually they would say something. But it's just a show. And the highest since 1979, compared to 2022, assaults, vandalism, and harassment rose by 45, 69, and 84% respectively in 2023. There were 45% more assaults against Jewish people, and you haven't heard about any of them. 69% more vandalism, and 184% more harassment. What do you think harassment is? Protests? Speaking out against what they're doing? They're harassing me. The ADL reported a 200% increase in anti-Semitic incidents from October 7, 2023 to September 24, 2024, vis-a-vis 2022-2023. All right. You don't have to go now. If you got to be there at noon.
You'll be there at noon and then...
Yeah, you're going to be waiting. Wait another 20 minutes.
It takes 26 minutes to get there. Why would I wait another 20 minutes?
Because if you wait...
They said promptly at noon.
Do whatever you're going to do. You always do anyway. It's not like I did this every day for the month. I don't know what I'm talking about. Did this every single day. I was going to offer to do it. But... I left at 5 to 10 minutes after and got there right on time every day.
Well, we were 2 minutes early and left at 7:52.
Okay. I mean, you go the way that you want to go, so. Well, it's not, I don't know, whatever. You do what you got to do. They explained that the increase was due partly to their new methodology, which was disputed by some current and former staff disagreeing with the ADL's methodology, e.g. definition of anti-Semitism being used. So it's whatever they're defining it as. So again, it's people saying things they don't like. According to the FBI's 2023 statistic, anti-Semitism incidents accounted for 68% of all religious-based hate crimes, a 63% bump vis-a 2022. The American Jewish Committee commented that it was likely much lower than the actual number, as hate crimes had been widely underreported across the country. Like, think about this narrative. Right, because they're not the quickest to complain and cry. Scholars claimed the rise signaled a shift in the nature and prevalence of anti-Semitism in the United States, which is true. We are gradually opposing this control, this supremacy more and more. The nature and prevalence of anti-Semitism that portended a return to the era of explicit and pervasive anti-Semitism. According to an August 2024 survey by the combat anti-Semitism movement. Just think about this. Listen to all these different things that I have just listed off, all these different groups, all these different organizations, all these different definitions. Again, show me the Christian ones. Show me anything else that's even close to this. 3.5 million Jews in America have experienced anti-Semitism since the October 7th attacks, since the October 7th Hamas-led attack on Israel. Just in case you were like, wondering, it's the October 7th Hamas-led attack on Israel. Of the 1,075 American Jews interviewed, 28% claim they have heard Jews care too much about money, which is not a bad thing. See, that's another one of those things that they've tricked you on. Saying any one group has money, power, and control is never a bad thing to say. That's a compliment.
Unless you don't want them knowing that they have all the control.
Shut up. Why you gotta say things like that? Don't you know that's a secret? Come on. You trying to get me in trouble? 25% have heard Jews control the world. Again, why would that be a bad thing? 14% heard American Jews care more about Israel than they do the United States, which they absolutely do. Like, there's no doubt about it. Israel first mentality. American Jews care more about Israel than and 13% heard the Holocaust did not happen or its severity has been exaggerated. Yes. Again, the idea that any of those things are some sort of a crime to say or think. If I can say, look, I say it didn't happen the way that they said it did, and it's been exaggerated, it's not because I have some access to some information and I'm just, I'm making it up. It's some secret cult that we just make up these these crazy numbers like the World Census Report and the Red Cross reports and all that other shit. 3 million lived in Europe at the time. Most of them escaped here. It's impossible for there to be 6 million. It's just impossible. But you weren't supposed to think that way. You weren't supposed to know these things. Oh, Jesus Christ. So here's a list. June 1st, 2025, a firebombing where 1 died, 15 injured in Boulder, Colorado. We haven't heard much about this story, have we? An Egyptian national in the U.S. on an expired visa attacked a group of mostly J people in Boulder, Colorado, who gathered in support of the release of hostages held by Hamas. These people are supporting the death, the genocide that's happening. This notion that there are these hostages is such a fucking joke. Why would Hamas have kept these hostages alive this long, considering everything Israel has done? What is the benefit of that? And if the benefit is it's stopping Israel from doing something, again, I don't understand. Israel bombs everything everywhere all the time. What benefit are they getting? They have this secret bomb-proof place? What are we talking about? This list is such a joke. May 21st, 2025, a shooting where 2 died. A 30-year-old male shot and killed 2 J employees of the Israel Embassy in Washington outside an event held at the J Museum. April 13th, 2025, 0 deaths, 0 injured. It was arson. American governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro's residence was targeted by a lone wolf terrorist with Molotov cocktails. Oh my God. So 2 of the last 3 were by Molotov cocktail. I have never heard of anyone else being killed by Molotov cocktail. I've never heard of it being used in weapons outside of like Grand Theft Auto and shit like that. Lone wolf while he and his family slept inside. The attack was widely condemned by anti-Semitic by opinion writers, Muslim and J organizations, as well as a number of parties in Congress. Shapiro had faced anti-Semitism before over his support for Israel. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's he's a supporter of death and genocide. November 5th, 2023. 1 dead involuntary manslaughter. American man Professor Kessler was a victim of a suspected involuntary manslaughter. So how is that a hate crime? Is this just them being victims of crime? Is that all this is? The suspect, a Moon Park College professor, hit Kessler's head with a megaphone over disagreement at a rally. Kessler fell with another hit and died of intracerebral hemorrhage. So he was just standing there minding his own business. He wasn't talking mad shit. Hey, girlie. How is Shul? How is Shul? Good. Sorry. Nathan's inside. That's Shul on his way home.
Oh, he goes to school?
Well, he started orientation today.
Oh.
He goes to school next week, I think. Leave me alone. Yes? Your mom doesn't want you hearing this stuff.
Huh?
Your mom doesn't want you hearing this stuff I'm talking about.
Well, I want you to listen to me.
Well, I'll listen to you later. Go. The suspect had pleaded not guilty. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass issued a condemnation. While hate speech was heard at the scene of the crime, prosecutors had not been able to tie the hate speech of the person accused of killing Kessler. The J Federation of Greater Los Angeles called it an anti-Semitic crime. Funny how that works. April 20th, 420, an assault where 1 person was injured. An attack on Matt Greenman. Matt Greenman, a J-man, was assaulted in an anti-Semitic hate crime in New York City while watching a rally organized by the group Within Our Lifetime. Syed Massoud, one of the group's founders, pleaded guilty to the assault and was sentenced to 18 months in prison in March of 2023. So it was a fight that he lost? January 15th, 2022, hostage taking. 1 was killed. Colleyville synagogue hostage crisis. 4 people were taken hostage by a British Pakistani at a synagogue. After a standoff with police, the attacker was killed and all hostages escaped unharmed. October 31st, 2021. Boy, we sure aren't, let's see. There's 3 in 2025, none in 2024, 1 in 2023, 2 in 2022. Boy, they sure sound like the most oppressed people in the world. We have another arson. Austin synagogue arson. 18-year-old Franklin Barrett Sessionreist set fire to the main doors of the sanctuary of the Congregation Beth Israel, causing more than $250,000 in damage. Wow. Sechrist, I don't know, admitted he conducted the act due to his hatred of Jews and had written, "I set a synagogue on fire," in his personal journal. We got another one of those people with their personal journals. I guess a lot more people have personal journals than I know, because I don't know anybody else. That was 2021, May of 2021, a gang attack. Attack on Joseph Borgen during the 2021 Israel-Palestine crisis. 5 men attacked Joseph Borgen, a visibly Jewish man, as he walked through Times Square to a pro-Israel rally. Borgen was punch-kicked, bludgeoned with flagpoles and a crutch, and maced and pepper sprayed, resulting in his hospitalization with a concussion. The attackers yelled anti-Semitic slurs. 5 activists were arrested, found guilty for the attack, and received sentences of up to 7 years in prison. This is April, May, public school assignment. In early 21, a 5th grade teacher at Mugam Elementary School instructed a 5th grade student to dress up as Adolf Hitler and to write a first-person essay from the perspective of the Nazi leader, touting his accomplishments as part of a class assignment. This is a hate crime? After initially defending the teacher and the school's actions, the board of Tenafly Public Schools suspended the teacher and the principal of school with pay and opened an investigation into the incident. This is cataloged as this list of anti-Semitic hate crimes. We go from 2021 to December of 2019. This is the Grafton Thomas thing. Masked and wielding a large blade. We know it was him, even though he was masked. Of course. Thomas invaded the home of Hasidic rabbi celebrating Hanukkah. He began stabbing the guest, leaving 5 wounded, 2 of which were hospitalized. 27. The rabbi's son was along injured. December 10th, the day, 19 days before that, 7 were killed and 3 were injured. David Nathaniel Anderson and his girlfriend Francine Graham, 47 and 50, perpetrated a shooting at a kosher grocery store. 5 people were killed, including 2 assailants, and 3 civilians who they attacked. Additionally, the assailants wounded 1 civilian and 2 police officers. Anderson had made social posts that were anti-police and anti-Semitic. His language was linked to that used by Black Hebrew Israelite movement. Of course. 7 Jews did not die in that. September 19th, 2019, vandalism. 2019 synagogue vandalism in a campaign dubbed Operation Kristallnacht. Members of the neo-Nazi accelerationist paramilitary group, the Base. I thought when I was a kid that that skinheads would be something I would see every day as an adult. Never seen anything of it. Vandalized the synagogues of Beth Israel, Sinai Congregation, and Temple Jacob. 3 members of the Base were arrested and subsequently found guilty of vandalism on June 5th, 2024. 24-year-old Nathan Whedon was sentenced to 26 months in prison and 3 months of supervised release for the incident. April 27, 2019, 1 dead, 3 injured, Poway shooting, of course. John T. Ernest, fired shots inside the synagogue Shabbat of Poway. 1 woman was killed and 3 others injured, including the synagogue's rabbi. This is the biggest bullshit. These 2 synagogue shootings are the biggest bullshit you've ever heard. 6 months to the day apart. In an open letter posted on 8chan shortly before the shooting and signed with his Ernest's name, the author blamed Jews for the meticulously planned genocide of the European race. White genocide conspiracy theory. August 27, 2018, 11 dead and 6 killed. 11 dead. Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. Robert Gregory Bowers killed 11 people and wounded 6 in a mass shooting of the Tree of Life synagogue. It was the deadliest attack on a local Jewish community in the United States. Bowers had earlier posted anti-Semitic posts on Gab towards the organization Hayas. Referring to the Central American migration caravans and immigrants, he wrote, Hayas likes to bring invaders in that kill our people. I can't sit by and watch my people get slaughtered. Screw your optics. I'm going in. And wasn't immediately arrested for that. August 11th, 12th, 2017, a riot killed 3 and injured 49 more. In a far-right rally, attendees were filmed chanting, "The Jews will not replace us." The rally turned deadly when James Alex Fields Jr., one of the attendants, launched a vehicle ramming attack on the opposing group. Yeah, but these aren't all Jews being killed again or hurt. April 3rd. Okay, so now we've gone We went 4 in 2019, 3 in 2021, 4 in 2019, 1 in 2018, 1 in 2017, and now we drop all the way to April 13th, 2014. 3 were killed. The Overland Park shootings, 73-year-old Glenn Fraser Miller, a Klansman and neo-Nazi, perpetrated shootings at a Jewish community center in the greater Kansas City village of Shalom, the community retirement community, a Jewish retirement community. A total of 3 people were killed in the shooting, 2 of whom were shot at the community center, and 1 was shot at the retirement community. You know, the thing is, I say I don't believe these things happened. What's better, that these things didn't happen and they're just operations carried out on us, or that people were actually killed? I say it's better that people weren't actually killed. So now that was that was 2014. Now we're going 5 years to June 2009. 1 killed, 1 injured in a shooting. The Holocaust Memorial Museum shooting at about 12:50 p.m. June 10th, 2009. 88-year-old white supremacist James Wechner von Braun entered the... Come on! An 88-year-old man carried this out. Entered the United States Holocaust Museum with a rifle and fatally shot museum special police officer Stephen Tyrone Johns. 3 first names. Other security guards returned fire, wounding von Braun, who was apprehended. Then we go to 2006, another 3 years. 1 shooting, 1 dead, 6 injured. Seattle Jewish Federation shooting at around 4 p.m. Navid Azvil Hack entered the Jewish Federation of Greater Seattle building and shot 6 women, 1 fatally. Witnesses reported that before Hack began shooting, he shouted, "I am a Muslim American. I'm angry at Israel." Come on, you don't believe this, do you? Who's gonna say, I am angry? Bang, bang. Like, come on. Now we drop to 2003, a stabbing, 1 killed. Mohammed Ali had stopped socializing with his Jewish friend Ariel Seluk after becoming a religiously strict Muslim. After not seeing each other for more than a year, Alaid invited Seluk to a bar for drinks, and from there invited Seluk to Alaid's apartment, where he slit Seluk's throat and nearly decapitated him. Alaid pled guilty and was sentenced to 60 years in prison on April 19th, 2004. This strict Muslim invited somebody out for drinks, and they had drinks together? That doesn't make sense. Now we're in 2002, where there was a shooting, 2 dead, 5 injured. 2002 International Airport shooting. Hersham Mohammed Hadet, 41-year-old Egyptian national, opened fire at the airline ticket counter of El Al, Israel's national airline at Los Angeles International Airport. 2 people were killed and 4 others were injured before the gunman was fatally shot by an El Al security guard. Come on. In September 2002, federal investigators included that Hadayat hoped to influence U.S. government policy in the favor of the Palestinians, and that the incident was a terrorist attack. Of course it was. Now we drop down to August 10th, 1999. Are you kidding me? We go 1999, where you have 1 dead, 5 injured in a shooting. Then we go, what was that? That was 1999. Now we drop another 5 years to March 1st, 1994. 1 dead, 3 injured in a shooting. Then we drop to 1991. There was a riot where 1 was killed. Then we drop to 86, a murder where 1 was killed. Then we go to 84, where there was a shooting where 1 was killed. Then we go to 77, where there was a shooting and 1 was killed. Then we go to November 11th, 1957, and October 14th, 1958, where there was a bombing no killed, no injured. Then we go to August 17th, 1915, where there was a lynching of one. Oh my God. Then we go December 17th, 1862, order, General Order 11 was an order issued by U.S. Major General Ulysses S. Grant on December 17th, 1862, during the Vicksburg campaign that took place during the American Civil War. The order expelled all Jews from Grant's military district comprising areas of Tennessee, Mississippi, and Kentucky. Grant issued the order in an effort to reduce Union military corruption and stop an illicit trade of Southern cotton, which Grant thought was being run mostly by Jews and other unprincipled traders. So there was a reason for this stuff. They love to get over the reason. At Holly Springs, Mississippi, Grant's Union Army Supply Depot, Jewish persons were rounded up and forced to leave the city on foot. On December 20th, 1862, 3 days after Grant's order, Confederate Major General Earl Van Dorn's Confederate Army raided Holly Springs. That prevented many Jewish persons from potential expulsion. Although delayed by Van Dorn's raid, Grant's order was fully implemented at Pocketuck, Kentucky. 30 Jewish families were expelled and roughly treated from the city. Jewish community leaders protested, and there was an outcry by members of Congress and the press. Really? 1862. This happens, and it gets to Congress, and Congress is like, we need to do something about this random thing that happened that involved 30 whole people, or 30 whole families. President Abraham Lincoln countermanded the general order on January 4th, 1863. Grant claimed during his 1868 presidential campaign that he had issued the order without prejudice against Jews as a way to address the problem that certain Jews had caused. Wow, this is just fantastic. They have a list of all the things that have been done bad to them since 1862. Can you even understand how insane that is? Seriously, that is ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. Anyway, go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. It's free to download, free to listen to. Jesus Christ, am I fucking big? Oh, god damn it. Oh yes, get you share it with your friends. If you download, or if you, when you click download, it'll ask you how much you want to pay. If you want to donate, we really appreciate it. If you don't, that's cool too. All we ask again is that you share it with someone. That's why it's free. You can find a link to the greatest film ever made, Hollywoodism. I highly encourage you to watch it. You're going to find a link to an article by the Israeli website, Israel Hayom, called The Bottom of Darkness, which is just it's really hard to read because it'll keep kicking you out and shit. It's really a weird website. It's like the opposite of what a website should be. You'd think a website would make it easy for you to read their article, but this one makes it extremely difficult to do. But do it. It's worth it because it details and outlines the ritualistic sexual abuse that is just everywhere in Israel. Everywhere. Also, there's 3 links to our music videos on Facebook. COVID Sauce, Donald Trump Hates America, Sleight of Hand Job. Like the page, sub to the page. If I'm not live here, I'm live there. Help out, do something. You know, if this is Team Goya, man, it's time for us to shine. It's time for us to take our lives, not back, take our lives. You know, we've never had the freedom that I'm talking about. And my freedom includes anybody. Anybody, if they want to, you know, renounce their supremacy, I'm all for it. I hope you leave that cult and come over to the side where we all work together to make the world a better place. That would be amazing. I doubt you will, but that would be amazing if you did. Most importantly, the thing I always ask you, please, please, before you hurt any more children or any children, if you haven't done it yet, but you will, if you have those pictures on your phone and shit, you will. Before that happens, please do one good thing in your life. Pedophiles, kill yourself.